Well, good morning and welcome to this morning's pre-retirement webinar put on by FCERA. I'm happy that you all are here this morning and be able to join us. My name is Jared Wong. I'm the communications analyst with FCERA, and it's good to be here with you all this morning. So we have quite a packed webinar today. We have a lot of different speakers today. I'm very fortunate and happy to have all the speakers here with you today. So just a couple of things I want to get kind of go over with you all before we get started with today's webinar. So in Microsoft Teams here in this Teams live event, there is a Q&A box there. So if you have any questions at any time during the presentations, feel free to drop a question right there, put it in that box, and we will get to those. Some, depending on how the presenter likes to do their presentations, they may answer your questions during, or they may just wait till their presentation is done, then answer all the questions. So just be patient. So other than that, I've gotten a lot of emails and questions already this morning as far as everything, how it's going. This webinar is going to be recorded and uploaded later on. So just so that way you guys can view and look at that stuff later on for your own convenience. Another thing here as well, there is a lot of questions regarding materials and handouts. So everyone that registered for the webinar, there should be a calendar invite that you received that had the link there in that calendar invite. Now, attached to that calendar invite, there should be various PDFs of all the presentations and handouts that the presenters are going to be utilizing today. So they should be attached to that calendar invite. I'm actually looking at it right now, and yes, they should all be attached there. So if you need to look at the handouts, just open the calendar invite that you got from us, and they should be attached. Unfortunately, let's see here. If you can't seem to locate those, I can get those to you later. I don't know if I'll be able to get those to you as soon as possible, but we'll work on that. We'll get through that. But yeah, they can be found right there. Let's see here. Okay, so kind of before we get started with my presentation portion here, I'm going to show you guys what our webinar schedule is for today. So this is the first couple minutes, just our introduction or welcome. Then I'm going to give a presentation about your FCERA benefits. Then we're going to have Deanna Sisk from Nationwide give a presentation about the deferred compensation plan for the County of Fresno. Then right after that, cannot hear you on my computer. Let's see here. Let me see what I can do here. Okay, give me 1 second, folks. Let me see. Let me check my settings, but I think my settings should be pretty good. So I have a couple people in the chat saying that they can't hear. Can anybody else kind of verify if they can hear me or not? Because then that way I want to make sure that all my stuff looks good, but it looks like everything on my end is good. Let's see here. Wow, technical difficulties on this morning. I apologize. Let's see. Okay. Well, while I'm waiting to see if anybody else can verify if they can hear me or not, there may be some settings on your computer that you need to fix. Okay, good. Someone said they can hear me. Awesome. Thank you, guys. Awesome. Thank you. I appreciate that. I appreciate that. So the ones that they said they can't hear me, there may be some settings in Microsoft Teams that you need to fixate. So perfect. Someone said that they couldn't hear originally. They logged out, logged back in. Now they're fine. Yeah, Microsoft Teams is a little funky with that. Yeah, so it looks like everybody can hear. So we're good. We're good. Thank you guys so much. Okay, anyways, So right after Deanna with Deferred Comp, we are going to take about a 10-minute break because it is it's a lot of information that we're soaking in today. And then right after that break, we're going to have Brittany Simmons from the County of Fresno HR department talking about retiree health insurance. Then David Joseph is going to talk about annual leave hours. And then finally, we're going to have Desmond from Kaiser talk about Medicare to end the presentation today. So I cannot be more excited to give this information all to you guys today. So like I mentioned, if you guys have questions, feel free to use that Q&A box that you guys have been flooding. Tell me you guys can hear. And then, we'll go from there. So without further ado, let's get started. Okay. Let's see here. Okay. So someone else said, I don't see the attachments. So there, at least on my end of the calendar invite that I sent out, I have attachments. They were not in your calendar invite. So when you open the calendar invite on your Outlook, so if you go to your Outlook calendar and you open that, for example, you should be able to see like all the information that says like welcome to FCERA's pre-retirement seminar, gives you like the rules, all that other stuff, the scheduling. There should be stuff attached to it. If for some reason you can't find that, just shoot me an email after and I'll send those to you after that. No attachments either. Nobody can see the attachments. That's, oh boy, that's not good. Okay. So what I'll do is I'll give you guys an email after because I can't just mass send out all these right now. That would take up too much time. I will send you guys the attachments after if you guys need them. So I'll give you guys an email to just send them to me or just shoot me an email and I will drop my email in the chat. Yes, you were muted by default, just the way it is going. Yes. Oh, I received the attachments. Okay, so I got like mixed signals, so now it makes me a little worried. But all right, anyways, guys, I'm gonna get started here. No, so you don't need the attachments per se right now because all the attachments that were in that calendar invite, you guys are gonna actually see during this webinar, and you guys can get a copy of that later on too. So you guys will actually see all this stuff on the screen. Okay. Okay. Well, if you accepted the webinar, you should have a calendar invite in your Outlook calendar. So you shouldn't need to necessarily look for the email that you've accepted it. You should just be able to it should be in the Outlook calendar as well, but we'll get to that. So let me just get started here. And then like I mentioned, all the handouts that you guys are gonna get is everything that you're seeing here. So you're not gonna miss out on stuff. Okay, so let's get started with my portion of the presentation. So from FCERA, your retirement benefit from us. So let's kind of get started here because I have a lot of information I'm going to cover and I'm sure you guys are going to have questions. So on my agenda for the FCERA benefit presentation, we're going to cover what is a defined benefit plan, which is your retirement benefit that you get from us, from FCERA. Then we're going to talk about membership. We're going to talk about other service eligibility, types of retirement, choosing the best retirement date, the different retirement options, and then we're going to kind of close. We're going to kind of close with financial wellness. Okay, so let's see. Okay, yes. So once again, before I move on to the next slide, I apologize for some reason you guys aren't getting the attachments that are in the calendar invite that's in the calendar invite that you were sent. It it should be, if you've accepted the calendar invite, go to your Outlook calendar and open the event on the Outlook calendar. But just so you guys know, all that stuff is going to be, you know, all the handouts is everything you guys are going to see here. I will be gladly to send them all to you guys. I've already gotten a few emails saying that they want them. I will send those to you guys probably after, because I can't send them all currently right now. So anyways, but yeah, just so you guys know, I got you guys. I hear you guys loud and clear. I hear you guys loud and clear. I know that you guys are looking for it. Some said they have them, others say they don't. But I would try, if you've accepted the calendar invite, open your Outlook calendar. Open your Outlook calendar, and then when you open your Outlook calendar, it should open just like any meeting that someone sets up for you in Outlook. Open your Outlook calendar, click on the event for today's event. That should open the event. That's how you guys were able to click on the link, right? So you guys were able to access the link for the webinar. So there should be attachments in there, because I do see it right there, but like I mentioned, if not, I can definitely send those to you guys later on. So don't worry. I will make sure that I take care of you guys. Okay. So that's on today's agenda for this presentation. So right before, okay, so the first thing that we're going to do to get started is talking about what is a defined benefit plan, which is your retirement plan or your retirement benefit that you get from us. So see, hold on. I apologize. I'm getting bombarded here. Okay, so like I mentioned, I will send you guys because I've got mixed signals. Some people said they have them, others they don't. That's okay. Don't panic. I will send you guys copies of the handouts. But you guys, all the handouts I'm sending, you guys can see right here. So I will send you guys that stuff. So don't worry. I will send that to you guys. Okay. So a defined benefit plan. Okay. Yes, I hear you guys loud and clear. I'm just going to say this one more time, and then I'm just going to move on. I understand that there's issues with getting these handouts, and you are not chatting, or you are not attached. It will be there. I will get you guys those. I will get you guys those. Don't worry. Okay. Anyways. Okay. So lifetime benefit, your defined benefit plan that you get from FCERA. Your defined benefit plan is a lifetime benefit. So what this means to you is that once you qualify and you meet the requirements for retirement, you'll get a benefit payment from us every month for the rest of your lifetime. Now, how we calculate your benefit is based off of specific factors. So the first thing that we look at when we calculate your lifetime benefit for you is we look at your tier level and your membership classification. I'm going to be covering those in just a minute. But the main points of how we calculate your benefit is your age at retirement. We look at your years of service or service credit, and then we look at your salary or what your final average compensation is. We take those three factors there, and we use that to calculate what you'll get from us every month for the rest of your lifetime. And then later on in the presentation, when I go over benefit options, when you come in and you're ready to sign your application for retirement and process that, you're going to choose an option. Depending on the option that you select, that will determine your benefit amount, but also it will also determine what your potential beneficiary that you're naming may receive in the case of your death. But we're going to cover that in a couple of slides later on in the presentation. So, and then also another rule to note is, in order to get some type of benefit payment from us, the member must be vested to receive that benefit. So you need to be vested in the plan with at least 5 years of service. Now, everybody in this webinar is vested because this webinar is geared toward people that are retiring within the next 5 years or so. So everybody has already hit that vested point or pretty close to that, or I would say they're pretty close to that vested point. If not, they've already hit that, or they're already eligible to retire. So this probably will not pertain to a lot of you. So membership classification. So there's two types of membership classifications in our class. There's in our pension plan. There is safety and general members. Now, safety members qualify under safety if you fall under one of these job titles: correctional officers, criminologists, deputy sheriffs, firefighters, chief of investigations, district attorney investigators, and sheriffs. General, all other employees. So if your job title does not fall under that safety category, you are considered a general member. Now, some examples of general members are office assistants, staff analysts, accountants, account clerks, engineers. Let's see, and the list goes on and on. So what this is your general and safety. The difference between general and safety is your retirement is calculated a little different, and you can find that on our website, on our active members handbook. You can also find out if you are general or safety on your pay stub. So your pay stub actually will list there if you are a general or a safety member. But the good rule of thumb is you look at right there. If your job title does not fall under the safety category, you are considered general. Okay. So vested means that you have obtained 5 years of service in a FCERA plan sponsor, not necessarily for the county, because we do have other plan sponsors in our plan, but the county is our biggest plan sponsor. So, but if to be vested, you need to have 5 years of working service. That's considered vested. Okay. So the other question that we do get asked a lot is, hey, so what do I need to qualify to retire and get a lifetime benefit from FCERA? Well, right here is a table of the retirement eligibility requirements for each tier and membership class. So, for example, if you fall under general tiers 1 through 4, it is age 50 with at least 10 years of service. If you are in general tier 5, like myself, the minimum requirements to retire to draw a lifetime benefit based off of those 3 specific factors is age 52 with 5 years of service. Safety members in tiers 1, 2, and 4, it is age 50 with 10 years of service, or if they are, they can retire at any age if they have 20 years or service or more. So we do see that every once in a while where we have safety members that started when they were early 20s or so, mid 20s, and they put in 20 years and they retire before they reach age 50 because they do have more than 20 years. They are allowed to do that. The same falls under general, but it's 30 years. So you could retire at any age if you have 30 years of service. But we see more people retire with 20 years of service under age 50 for safety because of that. So, and then finally, age for safety tier 5, it's age 50 with at least 5 years of service. So it's good to know what your eligibility requirements are for retirement, what tier that you're in, what membership class. So that way, you know, it will help you plan and figure out, okay, what my best course of action is. Okay, so I have another question. Can I roll over vacation sick leave to my pension or deferred comp? So if you want to hold, you know, that's a great question. That's a fantastic question. And exactly later when David Joseph from County HR gives his presentation, he will actually cover all that. So he will cover all that for you guys. So that's a very good question. Just hold tight. That's going to come later on today. Okay, the next thing here is retirement service eligibility. So this is how we determine if you're eligible to retire and get some type of lifetime benefit from us. Eligibility service defined. So your eligible service is years of credited service earned by the member when we use to determine the member's qualification to service retire. So basically, your eligible service is the years that you actually work for the plan sponsor. In this case, the majority of you in this webinar are county employees. So it's the years of service that you actually work for the county. So service from date of membership to date of termination, excluding breaks in service, is eligible service. So when you get hired at the county or any FCERA plan sponsor, you don't become a member and start accruing and contributing into the retirement plan until the first day of the second pay period. So starting from that first day of the second pay period all the way until you terminate your employment, you will accrue service credit. Prior county service purchase. So we're going to talk a little bit about buybacks. Later on, because you may have worked part-time or extra help. You can buy that time back to add to your retirement. Leave of absences purchased can help add to eligibility service. We're going to talk about buybacks in a little bit. Reciprocal service, which I'm going to touch upon in the next slide, and then deferred service as well. You guys are already coming out with some great questions. So there's a couple of these questions that I'm going to postpone and wait for. So the one question, if you have 30 years but not 59 or 60, can you retire at 100%? I'm going to touch that question later on. Can I cash out my pension? If so, is there a way to calculate the amount prior to selecting a retirement option? So I guess, and this is a little tougher because we're virtual and you guys can't really talk. You can always just kind of like type in those questions. I'm assuming instead of drawing a lifetime monthly benefit, you're talking about cashing out and just getting one lump sum of your pension or one lump sum of the contributions that you put into the plan. I'll touch upon that question later on because that's a little bit more detailed. Okay, so reciprocity. Reciprocity is the linking of two or more California public agencies. This encourages a career in the public sector, protects the value of your pension, works as a two-way street. So why do we talk about reciprocity? Well, because a lot of people in this webinar, believe it or not, have a reciprocal link with another California public agency, like CalPERS, for example. So we want to talk about how reciprocity works, how it applies, what are the benefits of doing that, and then if you already have a reciprocal link established, then how do you go about this when you're ready to retire? So by establishing a link between FCERA and another California public agency, there are some advantages of having reciprocity. One of the first advantages that you can have when you're establishing reciprocity is years of service. So years of service will be added together from all systems to determine vesting and retirement eligibility status. Salary. Your benefit will be based on the highest final average compensation at any linked agency. And don't worry, I will be giving you guys a brief example of how all this applies in just a second. And then finally, contribution rates. So if you happen to be in tiers 1 through 4 and you have incoming reciprocity, FCERA will use your members' entry age from a reciprocal agency to determine contribution rates. Because what that means is we have 5 tiers, as I mentioned, as I showed you guys on a previous slide. The first 4 tiers in our pension plan are age-based contributions plans, meaning that the member pays contributions per pay period based off of how old they are when they became a member of FCERA. Tier 5 is a flat rate contribution plan, meaning that they are paying contributions each pay period based off of a flat percentage, not their age. So that third bullet point there of contribution rates, depending if you fall into those age rate contribution plans, you may be able to change your age from that you had from the prior employer when you linked and came over here, or vice versa, and you'd be paying different contribution rates than what you would pay if you didn't have reciprocity established. Okay, so that's a lot of information, right? You're probably like, wow. Okay, so what does all this mean? How does this apply? So One of the agencies that we can establish reciprocity with is CalPERS, which is the state of California employees. That's one of their biggest plan sponsors that they work with. So let's just say in this example, I was a state of California employee. I worked there for 2 years and I left and I came here to the county of Fresno and I worked here for the rest of my career and let's say 30 years of service. Okay. I established this reciprocal link between FCERA and PERS. Now, because I established that link, I can take advantage of the first couple of bullet points. Let's look at the first one, years of service. So CalPERS has the same vesting period as FCERA. You need to at least have 5 years of service to be vested in their plan to get some type of lifetime benefit. Now, in this example I gave you, I only worked 2 years and then I left to the county. I went to the county of Fresno under FCERA membership. But because I established reciprocity, both FCERA and CalPERS are going to talk to each other and exchange information. Because that reciprocal link exists, CalPERS can use that 30 years of service that I earned working at the county under FCERA membership to make me vested in their plan. They will add those 30 years to the 2 years of service that I worked at under the CalPERS plan. That does not mean CalPERS is going to pay me for 32 years of service. They're only adding those years of service from FCERA to make me eligible and make me vested under the CalPERS plan. So now I'm vested and I will get paid a benefit from CalPERS based off of the years of service that I actually worked for them, which is 2. Now let's look at the next one, salary or final average compensation. So let's say that under the CalPERS plan, the highest salary I earned was $40,000. And then when I'm at the county under FCERA membership, the highest salary I earned was $80,000. When I'm ready to retire, and since I have reciprocity established, both FCERA and CalPERS will be able to use that $80,000 salary to calculate my benefit. So when I retire, I'm going to get 2 checks. I'm going to get one from CalPERS based off of the 2 years I actually worked and the $80,000 salary under FCERA membership, and then I'm going to get one from FCERA for my county time based off of the age that I'm retiring, the 30 years of service I worked, and that $80,000 salary. See how that works? It's really good. It's really, really good. So for reciprocal agencies on this slide here, I have a list of different various agencies that we can establish reciprocity with. So it's any county in California, CalPERS and CalSTRS, the city of Fresno, many other cities and towns. State of California, that's probably the one that we deal with on a daily basis because they're under the CalPERS plan, CalPERS system. Any employer that contracts and uses CalPERS, and the list goes on and on. So if you ever have any questions about establishing reciprocity with another agency, just call us and ask us. Now, this may apply to you, it may not apply to you. How this could apply to you in certain instances, there's 2 ways this can apply to you. Your previous agency may be a California public agency. So the previous employer that you worked at before you come to your job that you're currently in with the FCERA plan sponsor, you may be able to establish reciprocity with. The other avenue is if you were to leave your FCERA plan sponsor, and I have to say FCERA plan sponsor because we have other people that are not county employees in this webinar. So if you leave your FCERA plan sponsor and go to another California public agency, you can establish reciprocity that way as well. So how to establish reciprocity? You have to terminate and leave your contributions on deposit at the prior retirement associate agency. So you can't work for both public agencies at the same time. You got to leave one and join the next one. Now, the second one is you have to, or the other requirement is when you leave that first public agency, the first California public agency, you have a timer. So on that last day that you leave, you have 6 months from that day that you left that prior agency to join and become another member, become a member of a new retirement association at another California public agency. If you can meet those requirements, we can establish reciprocity with you. Once reciprocity is established, you have to retire from all systems on the same day. And reciprocity is also optional. So we do get a lot of questions saying, hey, Jared, do I have to do this? I qualify for it, but do I have to? No, you don't have to. You can definitely choose not to established it. That's your choice. Now, I do have some questions about reciprocity in the chat. I will cover that in just a second. I'm just going to get a couple of these slides done here. So there are some consequences of breaking that reciprocal link. There are some consequences for that. One of them is, this is probably the biggest one that you do see, is tiers 1 through 4. So if you happen to be in one of those age-based calculation tiers and you have a reciprocity established and you break that link with FCERA and the other agency, if you happen to be contributing at a different age, your contributions may be impacted. So for example, let's say that I worked under the CalPERS system, and I don't know what tiers and stuff they have. I don't know what all that is, but let's just say, for example, it's an age-based plan. Let's say under CalPERS, I worked there for 2 years and I started and I became a member of CalPERS at 23. And then I came over to FCERA 2 years later and established reciprocity. Now, because I would be placed in one of those 4 tiers under the FCERA membership and I established reciprocity, my age can be adjusted because I have that link established. So I was hired to become a member of FCERA at age 25. But because I established reciprocity, I can use that age of 23 when I became a member under the CalPERS system to pay contributions as a FCERA member. Now, paying contributions at a younger age for one of those 4 tiers means that I'm paying contributions at a lower rate. If I were to break reciprocity, well, now I can't take advantage of that age 23 contributions that I've been paying for the county each pay period. Because I broke reciprocity, now I have to pay contributions at my correct age when I was hired to become a FCERA member, which is 25. Well, guess what? If you're paying contributions at age 25, you're paying contributions at a higher rate, meaning that you're paying more. So now you got to make up the difference of what you should have been paying when you became a member up until that point that it was rectified and reciprocity was broken. So you would have to pay this because you underpaid contributions. So that's a problem. So that's one of the big consequences of breaking reciprocity. Tier 5 contributions are not age-based, so that does not impact you. But the other thing too, the other consequence of breaking reciprocity is years of eligible service for retirement may be impacted. So I do have a question in the chat that says, do you have to be vested prior to transferring to a reciprocal agency? You do not have to be vested. You do not have to be vested, because in that example I gave you, I went from CalPERS working there 2 years, and I went to the county under FCERA membership, and I worked there 30 years until I retired. Well, CalPERS is the same vesting period as FCERA of 5 years. In that example, I'm not vested under CalPERS, so I shouldn't get anything, right? Well, because I established reciprocity, CalPERS and FCERA can talk to each other, and CalPERS can use that 30 years of service I worked under FCERA membership to make me vested in their plan. CalPERS is only going to pay me off of the 2 years that I actually worked, but they will make me vested in their plan. Let's see. So for reciprocity, if I choose to leave the county and go to work for, say, the city of Fresno, then I would leave my contributions with the county and establish reciprocity with the city of Fresno or any other CalPERS employers. That is correct. So a big misconception of reciprocity when someone leaves, let's say, let's just use the county of Fresno, for example, because the majority of people in this webinar are county employees. So let's say that you leave your county position and go to another California public agency. Let's say you go to the city of Fresno. When this reciprocal link is established, a lot of people assume that the money that you've contributed into the FCERA bank gets taken out and goes thrown into the city of Fresno or your reciprocal agency that you established with. No, that is not how that works. The money does stay here. It has to stay on deposit with FCERA in order to keep those reciprocity advantages. If that money is taken out of here, reciprocity cannot be established. Very good question. Fantastic question. And don't worry, guys, I see other questions in here. They're just not pertaining to what I'm talking about right now, but I will get to that. Okay, so this slide here, retiring with reciprocity. So for members that are in this webinar that have a reciprocity established, or they may in the future, this is kind of what you need to look out for when you're ready to retire. So the big key with retiring with reciprocity is you have to retire from all the systems that you have linked together on the same day. If you do not retire from all systems on the same day, then reciprocity is broken. And then you guys saw what happens on the previous slide there. So then you can't get a type of a benefit. So you have to make sure that you retire from all agencies on the same day. Contact our office at least 90 days prior to your retirement date and contact your other agency that you have linked as well. So this is actually very important. So when you're thinking about retirement and you have a date picked out, contact both agencies on the same day and let them know that, hey, I plan on retiring on this day. I have reciprocity with X agency. Can you do this? You know, can we set up an appointment? Can we do this? That's important. That's super, super important. Because that way the retirement specialist, at least on the FCERA side, can make an appointment with you within at least 60 days of that retirement date that you choose and get the process started. Because with reciprocity, depending on the agency that you have linked, it could take some time to get that information and get your benefit payment processed, which leads to my next bullet point there. Your first benefit check may be delayed a month or two depending on the situation. Because it depends on the agency, sometimes working with CalPERS and you have reciprocity with CalPERS, it could take a little bit because we have to exchange information and we have to wait until CalPERS can give us information to confirm your date of retirement with them and other information before we can distribute a payment to you. So just keep that in mind that there always could be a delay. And then this goes to not just with people with reciprocity, but submit necessary documents like your birth certificate, marriage certificate, if we don't have those already on file. Also, members that have reciprocity can submit a salary check if applicable. Mostly this is for members that, let's say, that are currently at another California public agency, not under a FCERA membership, and they're going to retire with them, or that's their last position. They usually submit a salary request because we're more likely going to use they're going to submit a salary check because we're more than likely going to use their agency's salary over ours because that's their last employer that they're working for before they retire. So just keep that in mind that if you have reciprocity, you got to retire on both days or both systems at the same time. Okay. Whew, it's a lot of information, right? Okay, so the next thing here is purchasing service credit. So I don't know if anybody was able to catch my webinar during the lunch hour about service credit purchase. You can actually find that on our YouTube channel where I went into talking about service credit purchase. But so here I'm going to be just touching upon like service credit purchase, what it is and how that may apply to you. So service credit can be increased if you purchase eligible time, which can count toward your vesting period. This is mostly known as a buyback. So you may have heard coworkers and other people around your offices and stuff mention the word buyback. Buyback and purchasing service credit are the same thing. Eligible time to purchase service credit is time that you worked for a FCERA plan sponsor where you were not able to make retirement contributions, meaning that normally what that means is if you took a leave of absence and if it was a qualified leave of absence, you did not receive a paycheck or make retirement contributions, so you did not earn service credit. If it's an eligible time, you can purchase that back and add back to your retirement and to your years of service as if you worked during that time. And then by purchasing your eligible service credit, your monthly benefit will increase. So here are the list of the different services that can be purchased throughout your career. Your new hire period is your first one. This is your first 2 weeks of full-time permanent employment. When you are hired, you don't automatically become a member of FCERA on that first pay period. You don't become a member of FCERA until the first day of the second pay period. So because of that, we allow you to purchase that first 2 weeks if you'd like to. If you worked part-time or extra help, you can purchase that time. Redeposit of withdrawn funds. So what that means is if you worked for the county previously, for example, let's say you worked here 2 years and you left. Once you left, you cashed out, took your money. Then if you got rehired back to the county of Fresno or another FCERA plan sponsor, we can actually calculate how much it would cost you to put those contributions back in as if you never took them out. And more importantly, you would regain those years of service that you cashed out on. So instead of starting brand new and you need 5 years of service to be vested, in that example I just gave, if you were to redeposit those funds and get granted those 2 years of service back, then you would only need to work 3 years to become vested. This only goes for the California Superior Courts and our other special districts and our plan sponsors. This does not apply to county employees, but prior public service. County employees used to be able to purchase prior public service back a while back, but that is no longer allowed. So this is only for the other plan sponsors. The more common buybacks that we do get in our office is leave of absence for medical leaves. This is an FMLA due to illness to the member. Now, if you take a military leave during active employment, you can purchase that time as well. A big question that we do get asked a lot is, and I put that there on the last bullet point, is personal or educational leaves are not available to purchase. I did get a lot of questions when I used to go out to different department sites in person or all over. People thought that you can purchase eligible leaves or personal leaves. You cannot. Those are ineligible to purchase. So, how would you go about purchasing service credit? So there's a form here, and I have it linked. I have it shown here on the slide. You need to complete that request for service credit calculation form. Once the calculation is complete, we will send you a letter with a quote in the mail. So that quote in the mail is going to tell you a few things. It's going to tell you your cost, the amount of time that's eligible to purchase, and your payment options. You're not obligated to purchase any of those at that time. Now, depending on the amount of leave or service credit that you're purchasing, you may be able to make payments. That's broken down on the quote as well. And you can also be paid. You can also pay your buyback back with your deferred compensation plan through Nationwide. So that's also another perk of having the Nationwide deferred compensation plan. Now, another thing about buybacks that is not listed here in the presentation that I'm going to let you all know as well. If you have these eligible times to purchase, so if you have any of these service times that can be purchased, it might be a good idea to submit a request to see what it costs as soon as possible, because the longer that you do wait, more interest accrues, and your cost to purchase that time will be more the longer that you wait until you retire. Because you cannot purchase service credit after you retire and start receiving a payment. You need to request to purchase that by your retirement date or sooner. It's better if you do it as soon as possible so you pay less interest. Now, when you're buying back time, you're paying at the rate when you were purchasing that time back, or when you were working back then, but we have to also add interest from that period of that time that you're buying back all the way up to the current period. So that's why the cost is going to cost a little bit more, because we also accrue interest on our contributions twice a year, June 30th and December 31st. So we have to add those interest crediting periods from back when that leave or that time that you're trying to purchase all the way to the current period. So that's what I mentioned, and you may hear this from your office, from your coworkers as well. If you have available time, like extra help, a medical leave or something like that, and you're interested and want to see what it costs, submit the form as soon as possible. Get that calculation and see if you can do it, because the longer you wait, you will probably are going to have to pay a little bit more. So just keep that in mind. If I left for 2 years in return and never cashed out my contributions, does that count toward years of service, or do I need to purchase that time? So that's a good question. So if you happen to leave county service, for example, and never touched your contributions, you left it in the FCERA plan and then got rehired back, those 2 years of service is still counted, is still credited to you, because the money never left the system. It never was taken out. So here's another, how do I find out if an LOA I took reduced my service time? You can look at our member portal and see what, and I'm going to touch upon that in just a little bit. You can look at our member portal. Our member portal does have all your information there. You'll be able to see the different leaves and absences and stuff that you may be able to purchase. So that's a good way to look at that. Don't you have to be vested before you can purchase service credit? No, you don't have to be vested. You can purchase if you have eligible time to purchase. You can request to have that calculated and purchased regardless if you are vested or not. Okay. Whew. So good job, everybody. That's a lot of information that we covered right there. Now we're going to get into like the meat and potatoes of the retirement plan. We're going to talk about the different retirement options. Before I get into that, though, there are a couple of questions I do want to address in the chat before we move on. So the only thing I have that I could buy back is my first 2 weeks of my employment, would it make a big difference in the final compensation? So it wouldn't make a difference in the final compensation. It would make a difference in your service credit because when you buy back time, buying back eligible service credit increases your years of service, which is one of your factors of your retirement benefit. So by purchasing that new hire period, it does increase your years of service, which in result will increase your benefit. Now, depending on who you are and what your opinion on the matter is, some people say it's worth it to buy those first 2 weeks. Others say it's not. On average, your benefit can increase anywhere from $5 to $10 per a month. Depending on the cost of your new hire period at this point and seeing what your increase is, it may or may not be worth it to you. So a good rule of thumb is you can actually do this in the member portal. So the member portal does allow you to look up what your estimated retirement benefits are at a specific date. You can also look at the available buyback times that you have in the member portal. Now, you can then look at how much it's going to cost you to buy that time. And then you can actually look at the years of service that you can purchase. You can add that years of service to an estimated calculation to see what your benefit would increase to, and then do a cost benefit analysis and see like, okay, if my benefit is increasing $10 a month and I got to pay, I don't know what it would cost for a new hire period depending on when you were hired and when you're purchasing it, but let's just say it's $150. Then you'd be like, okay, if I'm making $10 extra a month, if I purchase this 2 weeks, it's going to take me 15 months to recoup that cost. Then after that, I'm going to get an extra $10 a month for the rest of my life. You have to kind of look at it that way and see if that's worth it to you. We can't really advise you if it's worth buying. I can full disclosure just for myself. This is just my own situation. I bought my new hire time. This is the only department I worked in retirement. This is the only department I've been here for, but I did buy that time. So, but I know that there's a lot of people that because I used to be a retirement specialist. There's a lot of people that I retired that did not buy that time. It's a personal preference. So you have to kind of look and see if the cost is worth that increase that potentially you would get from buying that time. Will all service credits show up on the buyback page? In the member portal, most of the time they should show up. There may be cases depending on how long you've been at the county or like conversion issues that it may not, but in most cases they should show up in the member portal. I'm 56 with 22 years of service. Will I be able to retire? Well, I don't know what tier level that you're in, but based off of those statistics of 56 and 22 years of service, you're more than vested and you're the minimum age and you've already passed the minimum age for retirement for any one of the 5 tiers or 4 tiers if you're a safety member. So you would be eligible to retire based on the statistics that I see there. Let's see. For my pension, are the 3-year consecutive years on our highest earnings for tier 4? Tier 4, and we'll cover the final compensation thing in just a moment. The first 2 weeks that you can buy back, can anyone submit the form even if you're not at a retirement age? Yes. So that's another thing too. You don't have to be vested. You do not have to be vested. You do not have to be minimum retirement age to submit a service credit purchase to purchase time. You can submit that at any point. It's up to you. Okay, so let's kind of get into the retirement options here because I'm looking at the time. I want to make sure we're on time and we keep on schedule here. So how much is my benefit at retirement? Well, this is a question that we get asked every week. We get called, our specialists get asked, hey, what am I going to make if I'm going to retire at this age or this date? What am I looking at? Well, there's a great way that you guys can all do that in the comfort of your own home or wherever you like, wherever you're at. That's utilizing our FCERA member portal. This is single-handedly your best financial planning tool for your FCERA pension. So to get to our member portal, go to our website at fresnocountyretirement.org. You will need to register for an account if you do not have an account. When you're registering for an account, you will need a unique identifier. In order to get that unique identifier, just give us a call to our office or send us an email to FCERA@FresnoCountyCA.gov. Once you send us that email or give us a call, we can get you that unique identifier to log into the member portal. But remember that if you're going to send us an email, you need to send us an email to your through your work email address. It has to be through your work email address, otherwise we will not acknowledge it. So this member portal provides access to many features. You can view your beneficiary information. The most important thing for most of you that are in this webinar is calculating your retirement benefit estimate. So you can calculate what you will get potentially every month for the rest of your life. You can view your contribution balance and more. It's like I mentioned, it's one of your best financial planning tools for your FCERA pension. I can't stress enough that you should be using this portal if you do not already. So here is just a screenshot of our website. When you get to the web page, you just click on that button that says member portal right next to the magnifying glass. That will take you to the login screen. Okay, so the other popular question that we get asked a lot, and I used to get asked this quite a bit, is, hey, when is the best time to retire? Well, it depends. That's the short answer to it. There's no real right or wrong answer. I know that's probably not what you guys want to hear, but there's really no right or wrong answer when choosing a retirement date. The big thing is it is up to you. We can't advise you when the best time for you to retire is. That's a decision that you will have to make. But here are some things that you should consider, I should say, when picking out a retirement date. So each quarter year of age increases your benefit. So I mentioned that the three factors that we look at to calculate your lifetime benefit from us is age, years of service, and final average compensation. So with your age, at each quarter age increase, your benefit slightly increases. So, for example, age 50, if you just turned 50 and you look at what your lifetime benefit would be, it would slightly increase if you waited until 50 and a quarter, 50 and a half, and so on. So your age does play a little bit of a factor. The second bullet point there is probably the number one factor that a lot of people consider and why you hear a lot of people retire in the first quarter of the year, is that if you fall under tiers 1 through 3, you are eligible to an annual cost of living adjustment each April. You can receive up to a max. Looks like it's going to be you can receive up to a max of 3% a year for that cost of living adjustment for those members that fall under tiers 1 through 3. So that makes also a huge decision if members are going to want to retire or not, depending on when that cost of living adjustment is. Now, our Board of Retirement announces the cost of living for the current year during the month of February at one of our board meetings. So currently, I do not know what this year's cost of living is, so I can't help you with that, but just stay tuned and listen to our board meetings. It will be announced at one of those meetings. Tiers 4 and 5 do not, unfortunately, have a cost of living adjustment like myself. So there's also another light bulb to really plan your retirement. Look at the member portal, utilize that, because I don't have a cost of living to help my benefit, I got to look at other avenues as well as increasing my savings, investing into deferred comp, things like that. And then another thing that people help determine their retirement date is anniversary dates. We do have a lot of people that say, hey, I want to retire when I hit 25 years, 30 years, or whatever. So that's another factor that people utilize to determine when is the best time for them to retire. And then finally, utilize the member portal. I cannot stress this enough. The member portal allows you to run estimated calculations for your retirement to see what you'll get every month. While these are estimates, it's a good indicator of what you potentially are going to get if you retire at those dates, at that date that you chose in the portal. Utilize that member portal. That's going to help you plan to see what your benefit will look like, the different options available to you, and to see if you can make that work per month. In my experience, I had a lot of people that never used the member portal, did not know what they were walking into, and they were like, some of them were happy with their benefit was, others weren't, because they realized they may have to work a little bit longer. So planning is the key. So utilizing the member portal is definitely going to help. When we use the FCERA retirement calculation, does it include the additional or potential cost of living? No, it does not. It is only going to include the estimated retirement benefit that you will receive based off of the information that we have in the system. It does not project or list or include any potential cost of living. Okay, so COLA comparison. So because we're talking about cost of living, this is an example of how the COLA works for members that are eligible. So let's say you have a member that's considering retiring in August 1st of 2022, and their unmodified amount would be $3,115. If the member decides to retire on April 1st, 4 months earlier, instead, their unmodified benefit would be $3,080, which is less, which would make sense because if you waited till August, you're accruing more service credit. Now, let's say in this example, the cost of living is 1.5%. And let's say that if the member decides to retire on or before April 1st, they get that 1.5%, which would make their benefit actually come out to, with that cost of living included, $3,126 per month, which is actually $9 more than if they were to retire in August. So in this example, most people would be like, well, I'd rather retire in April, get the extra $9, and I get to leave 4 months earlier. So it really, that's kind of the mindset that people look when they're looking at the COLA and stuff to see if it's beneficial to them. How to find out what tier that you're in, you can look at the member portal, or you can look on your pay stub, or you can definitely just call our office and we can let you know. Okay, so types of retirement, we do offer 2 types of retirement: disability retirement, which is service-connected and non-service-connected disabilities, and then the general service retirement, which the majority of members do get from us. Disability retirement, I'm not going to cover too much in-depth stuff about this, but if you become disabled or unable to perform your essential functions of your job, you may be eligible for a disability retirement. You can apply by completing a disability application that can be found on our website. The 2 types that we offer are service-connected and non-service-connected. FCERA's disability retirement policy can be found on our website. So our website is a wealth of knowledge. So that disability policy on our website you take a look at that policy. It will break down from start to finish how the policy works, the timelines, things like that. It'll go over the whole process for you to kind of see what you're getting into. Oh, and I forgot to mention, because I do have a question. Do we get the COLA annually thereafter? If you were in tiers 1 through 3, you could potentially receive a COLA each year. That just depends on the year. That just depends on what the Board of Retirement approves, and that also depends on the Consumer Price Index of the Western Hemisphere. So that's so it depends on what that is for that year. But like I mentioned, we don't know what the cost of living is. We won't know until the board approves it and when the board announces it. So I don't know what the cost of living is. So unfortunately, if you ask me what it is, I don't know. Okay, so real quickly here, service-connected disability means that you were injured on the job. You must be permanently incapacitated from performing your duties of your job. Temporarily disabled is not applicable to a service-connected disability. So you can't be temporarily disabled. Your doctor has to deem you permanently. If you apply for a service-connected disability, there is no minimum service credit requirements. Your service-connected disability pays 50% or more 50% of final average compensation, or your service retirement benefit, whatever is greater. Like I mentioned, I'm not going to really touch upon this in much detail. If you have questions about the disability process, please contact our office and speak to a disability specialist. Non-service connected disability, roughly very similar, except this is an injury or illness outside of work. You do need to be vested in the plan with 5 years of service to apply and potentially be granted a non-service connected disability. And your benefit varies depending on your age and years of service, but it can be up to 1/3 of your final average compensation or your service retirement amount, whatever is greater. Like I mentioned, if you have any questions about the disability process, check out our website, look at our policy, our flow chart that we have up there, or give us a call and talk to a specialist. Okay, service retirement, though, the base retirement that the majority of members do get from us is, like I mentioned, based off of 3 factors. We look at your age of retirement, your final average compensation. Now, your final average compensation is calculated differently depending on what tier you are in. If you happen to be in tiers 1 and 2, we look at your whole history of pay and we pick out the highest 1-year average at any point in your career. Tiers 3 and 4 is the average of your 3 highest individual years throughout your career. Tier 5, average of your 3 highest consecutive years. So keep that in mind when this is how we calculate what your final average compensation is. Total years of service is the other factor that we consider. So that's the service that you earn by working plus any purchase service credit. Okay, so we offer 5 different options for service retirement. Unmodified options 1, 2, 3, and 4. The unmodified option, which is our most commonly selected option amongst members, provides the highest monthly benefit based off of the age, years of service, and final average compensation. This option allows you to leave a 60% lifetime continuance to an eligible beneficiary. An eligible beneficiary is a spouse or a minor child. This is one of the only options that we offer in our plan that you can change your beneficiary after retirement if it's applicable. Now, an eligible beneficiary is a married or registered partnership for at least 1 year prior to retirement. Or if you get married or in a registered partnership after retirement, you need to be in that, you need to have that established for at least 2 years by the time of the member's death. And the spouse or the partner has to be at least age 55 at the time of the member's death in order to get that 60% lifetime continuance. So if you have an eligible beneficiary and you select this option, if something happens to you, that beneficiary will get 60% of whatever your benefit is every month for the rest of their lifetime going forward. So that's great and all, but a question would be, hey, what if I have a non-eligible beneficiary? Well, if you have a non-eligible beneficiary, that's okay. They just wouldn't be eligible for a continuance. You could receive a lump sum payment of remaining contributions and interest for that beneficiary if there is any contributions left in that bucket. So this one here is mostly the most common option that is selected amongst our membership, but we do have other options. The next one here is option 1. No survivor continuance. So this is the most important part of option 1. No survivor continuance, meaning that regardless who your beneficiary is, this does not leave a lifetime monthly benefit. This option here leaves a slightly reduced monthly benefit. Upon death, your beneficiary receives a lump sum payment of your remaining contributions balance and interest. This actually uses up your contributions at a slower rate. This is one of the only other options outside of an unmodified option that you get to change your beneficiary after you retire. So normally this option 1, because it does not leave a continuing lifetime benefit, this option is mostly selected amongst single members that have like an adult child or a sibling or something as their primary beneficiary. Since it doesn't leave a lifetime benefit to them, that beneficiary is eligible for any lump sum of their contribution of the member's contributions and interest that they have left at the time of their death. For an option 1, that contribution bucket lasts anywhere from 15 to 18 years. So if the member were to pass away during that time span, there may be some monies to be paid out to that beneficiary that they have elected as their primary as their primary. And your beneficiary can be anyone. It could be an adult, child, sibling, whatever that may be. But normally a spouse does not, a member that's married does not select this option because it doesn't leave a lifetime benefit. You can select this option if you're married, but your spouse has to sign a notarized waiver saying they waive the right to any potential lifetime continuing benefit. Now, the next couple of options I'm going to go over are all continuing benefits to a beneficiary of your choice, and they all have roughly the same characteristics. Option 2. This option is a reduced monthly allowance based on the age of the beneficiary. So that means that the bigger the age difference between you and your primary beneficiary, the more reduced benefit that you'll get every month for the rest of your life. This does not have to be an eligible spouse. It could be anyone that you choose. Now, because your benefit is based off of the age difference between you and your beneficiary, you cannot change your beneficiary for any reason after you've selected this option to receive payment from FCERA. Option 2 provides a 100% continuance to an eligible beneficiary, meaning that if you select option 2, whatever you're getting in the case of your death, your beneficiary will get every month for the rest of their lifetime. Now, if you select this option and your beneficiary is a non-spouse and is more than 10 years of difference in age to you, we will have to send that calculation out to our actuary to have that calculated for you. Because we need to ensure that there's enough money in the plan to not only pay you for the rest of your lifetime, but your beneficiary. Now, because we send that calculation out to the actuary, keep in mind that can delay when you receive your first payment. Option 3, very similar to option 2. It's a reduced monthly allowance based on the age of the beneficiary. But this option pays out a 50% lifetime continuance to your eligible beneficiary that you want to select. Like I mentioned, does not have to be an eligible spouse and cannot change your beneficiary for any reason because it is tied to the age difference between you and your beneficiary that you select. Now, option 3, because it leaves a 50% lifetime continuance, we do see this selected every once in a while for members that want to leave a continuing lifetime benefit to, let's say, an adult child or a sibling. Usually never a spouse, because usually if you want to leave a spouse a continuing benefit, we see the unmodified option more times than none, or option 2, which leaves a 100% continuance. Option 3 isn't really relevant to married members because why would you take a reduced benefit between the age difference between you and your spouse and only leave the spouse 50% when you can take the unmodified option, for example, which provides your highest monthly benefit based off of your age, years of service, and your final average compensation, and leaves a 60% lifetime continuance. That's kind of the mindset with that there. So option 3 is very similar to option 2. So I'm getting a lot of different questions about, and I don't know if these are which options these pertain to. So I see a question that says, how long does that lump sum usually last? If we're talking about option 1, where we only pay out a lump sum to the beneficiaries, that contribution bucket lasts anywhere from 15 to 18 years, roughly in that time frame. Can you have more than one beneficiary? You can, but for the first couple of options, you would not be able to give a lifetime continuing benefit. It would only be a contribution balance that's left over, unless you elect one of the other options. Now, if you want to list more than one beneficiary, but one of the beneficiaries is a spouse, due to California law, the spouse trumps everyone, so the spouse will always be the primary beneficiary. Can it not be an adult child? I don't know what that question is referring to, but your beneficiary can be anyone. Can you have more than one beneficiary? You can. Yes, it depends on the option that you select, though. If your beneficiary passes before you, can you select another beneficiary? For option 1 or the unmodified, you can. Options 2, 3, and 4, which I'm going to cover in just a minute, you can't because they're tied to that beneficiary that you elect. Can I have 2 beneficiaries, 50% to each? That depends on what you're trying to look for. Are you trying to leave them a lifetime monthly benefit? That's what that depends on that type of question that you're asking with that. So let's kind of move along here because I'm running a little bit out of time. So option 4, I'm going to briefly touch upon this because we don't really see this option that much. Option 4 is a customized actuarial calculation based on specific instructions. This is used to comply with a marital settlement agreement due to divorce. An option 4 does allow customization of retirement for multiple beneficiaries. So for people that are asking in the chat, if you can leave multiple beneficiaries a lifetime benefit, and option 4 is a way to go. Because they carry the same characteristics of an option 2 and 3 of looking at the age difference between you and your beneficiary, you cannot change your beneficiary for any reason. Now, the age difference and the number of beneficiaries that you want to leave a continuing benefit will impact your lifetime monthly benefit from us, so keep that in mind. So we have 2 different option 4s. We have a basic option 4, which is the first calculation is free. The second calculation is the $1,000 charge because we send these calculations to our actuary. This option 4 can have multiple beneficiaries. So if you'd like to leave 2 beneficiaries a lifetime benefit, you can. This has to with the basic option 4, you must have equal percentages of a continuing benefit left to them, meaning that, for example, let's say that you want 40% of your benefit to go to your 2 beneficiaries A and B, but in order for this to work, they have to be split evenly. So 50% to A, 50% to B. Now the non-basic option 4, this is out the gate is not a free calculation. There's a $1,000 charge to our actuary that we have to do to submit that calculation. What this non-basic option 4 is, it adds a little more customization. For one, it allows for unequal percentages. So in the previous example, I said that the percentages for beneficiary A and B have to be the same. For a non-basic option 4, it does not have to be. So for example, if you want 40% of your benefit to go to beneficiary A and B, you can elect to have 60% of that 40% go to A and the 40% go to B. And the non-basic option 4 allows for something called reversion, which is if beneficiary A passes, their share goes to beneficiary B. So that's another perk of the non-basic option 4. But like I mentioned, we don't really see a lot of these in our office, these customized calculations, because of the cost and also the time. But these are available to you. If you have more questions, feel free to call our office. Okay, so temporary annuity option. This is something that is eligible to members that are under the age of 62. So what this advances a portion of your future estimated Social Security benefits. So what this does is for anyone that retires under the age of 62, they can submit during the retirement process time, they can submit a Social Security estimate from the Social Security office of what their benefit would be at age 62. We can advance them a portion based off an actuarial factor of that Social Security estimate every month until they turn 62. Then, when they turn 62, we reduce your FCERA benefit by the full Social Security estimate for the rest of your life. This is supposed to help level out retirement income with your Social Security. It does not affect your future Social Security benefits, does not affect Social Survivor Continuance, only available for service retirements, not disability. Now, I have a couple of slides here, and then I'm going to provide you guys a slide here as the slide deck as well later on. But then I will also link a link to our YouTube channel because I did a webinar about the Tao specifically. So I recommend checking that out where I'm going to talk about that in more detail. So quickly here, because I'm running out of time, the Tao comparison. Let's say that you have a member that is age 55, Social Security estimate of 1237. We look at a modification factor, which is this is a fictitious number, guys. So these aren't accurate numbers. So let's say that this member is 55 and they're looking to take the Tao. They submit a Social Security estimate to our office of 1237, a modification factor of 0.4913. So by taking that and multiplying it by the modification factor, we would advance $608 per month every month for this member until they turn 62. Now, let's say this member's base retirement is $2,850. So we add that temporary annuity option advancement there. So their total pension per month is $34.58 all the way up until they turn 62. Then when they turn 62, we reduce their benefit by their Social Security estimate that they provided when they retired of $1,237. So then going forward, their total FCERA pension at 62 is going to be $2,221 going forward for the rest of their lifetime. Now, someone that takes the Tao, the thought process is once we reduce your benefit at age 62, you go to Social Security and you draw your Social Security benefit. Hopefully that Social Security benefit that you draw is the same as the estimate that you provided at age 55 in this example when you retire. So if it happens to be the same as in this example, your income actually stays the same of $34.58 going forward for the rest of your life. It goes without saying, if you take the pension without the Tao, you're going to have more disposable income. So I did a quick break-even analysis, and then this will be available to you guys on the slide deck when I send that to you. But basically, based off of that example, if you take the Tao, you're getting an advancement for 7 years of about $51,000. But after we reduce that benefit at age 62 for the remainder of your lifetime, if this member lived to be 86, the member would have foregone $356,256 from age 62 to 86 in benefits in order to get that advancement of $51,000 for that 7 years before they turn 62. We can't really tell you to take the Tao or not. That's just something that you guys will have to decide. That is a decision that you'll have to make. I will provide a link of the webinar that I did about the Tao so you guys have more information where I talk about it in a little bit more detail. Health benefit allowance. So for members that are in tiers 1, 2, and 3, and 4, when you retire, there's an additional health benefit that's paid out to the retirees of $3 for every completed year of service. This is a lifetime benefit. This is just additional money given to you by the Retirement Association. You can use that to pay health insurance or whatever you choose to. There is not a designated amount where this money has to be spent. Required members documents for retirement. Keep in mind that we are going to need documents from you in order to retire you. So we will need a copy of your birth certificate, beneficiary's birth certificate, marriage certificate. If you had a divorce during your county service, dissolution of your marriage documents will be needed. So your judgment, or a DRO. And then if you decide to take the Tao, we will need your Social Security estimate as well. Now, if you have any questions, if you have any questions and you need to know if we need any of these forms, feel free to call our office and we can tell you if we have any of these forms on file or what we need from you. You can submit these forms at any time or you can wait until you retire. It does not matter. That is completely up to you. When can you expect your first check? So depending on your retirement date, when can you expect your first check? You may be waiting 30 to 60 days after your retirement date. Retirees are paid on the last Fresno County business day of the month. So keep in mind that there may be a delay in your retirement benefit when you go through the retirement process, but when you have that counseling session with the retirement specialist that you're meeting with, they will give you a timeline of when to turn in documents and when the expectation that you will receive your first check. But just keep in mind that you could potentially wait 30 to 60 days from your first retirement benefit check. Retirement payroll deductions. There are a couple of payroll deductions that are being deducted from your check. The only things that are being deducted are taxes. So when you retire and go through the process, we provide you tax forms for federal and state. You will fill out those tax forms based off of your discretion. And however you fill those out, that's how we take taxes out. Now, you can, after you retire, you can change your tax withholdings as many times as you want. You just have to submit new forms to our office to make those updates. Health insurance payments. If you buy health insurance straight through the county of Fresno, that could be deducted from your paycheck, from your retiree check. Most of the time, if you buy outside insurance and not through the county, then you have to pay that insurance on your own, not through your FCERA check. Refco dues is can be deducted as well. REFCO is a retiree group of Fresno County employees. You have the option to join that group, and they do monthly luncheons, quarterly newsletters, things like that. The fees are $1 a month. So that would be something that will be offered to you when you go through the retirement process as well. And then finally, garnishments as required by law can be deducted from your retiree check as well. Working after retirements, you can work up to a maximum of 960 hours per year with the FCERA plan sponsor. You can only come back and work as extra help. You cannot come back and work as a full-time employee. That is super important. And this will be stressed to you again during the retirement counseling session. There's a mandatory 180-day break between retirement and date of rehire as an extra help employee. So keep that in mind. You have to have a break of 6 months. You may have not received, and then also you may not have received unemployment benefits within 1 year prior to returning to work in these capacities. So real quickly, is it a copy okay of your birth certificate? Yes, you can send a copy, or you can scan a copy and send it to our office as well. Divorced twice. Do I need both divorce papers? Yes, you will need to submit those divorce documents to our office. I recommend sending a copy of your divorce documents as soon as possible so our divorce unit can look at that and upload that to your file. So that's one less thing you have to worry about when you're going through the retirement process. Let's see. So are you paid once a month at the end of the month? Yes. Retirees are paid once a month on the last Fresno County business day of the month. Okay, real quickly here, because I'm running out of time. I have a timeline here. 5 years from retirement, provide the required documents, birth, marriage certificates, divorce documents, purchased available service credit, attend a FCERA retirement workshop, which you guys are doing. 3 years from retirement, target a possible retirement date, review the benefit calculator on the member portal. 1 year from retirement, target your retirement date. Review the calculations again in the member portal along with your options. If you have reciprocity with another agency, contact that reciprocal agency. Because remember, you have to retire from all agencies on the same day. 3 months prior to your retirement date that you select, call our office and schedule an appointment with the retirement specialist. And then obtain a Social Security estimate if you are electing the Tao. 1 month prior to retirement date, contact Human Resources regarding your annual leave. David Joseph is actually going to talk about that with you guys in just a moment, or in a little bit. Contact your bank of choice and make alternate arrangements for any payroll deductions that you now have in place. So if you're paying on a loan or something through your county paycheck, contact your bank and make those arrangements because that does not transfer over to your retiree check. Resolve any questions that you have with your retirement specialist. Finalize details regarding health insurance and deferred compensation. And then notify your department of your retirement date. Because when you're going through the retirement process, we will need a copy of your accepted letter of resignation that is signed by your manager or supervisor in your department. Okay, and then for the sake of time, I'm not going to cover financial planning and wellness today. I will cover this in a later webinar, but I will provide the slide deck for you guys. So you guys can take a look at that later on. Here is a contact list here for us. If you guys already don't have this information, you can give us a call, send us an email to FCERA@FresnoCountyCA.gov for any questions. We'll be more than willing to help. Our office location is located there on 7772 North Palm Avenue. We're Palm and Knees area. Use our website. Our website has a ton of information at your disposal. We have a ton of information there. So feel free to use that website. After the webinar, we'll give you guys a survey. So just give us a review and let us know how everything went. And then we want to thank you guys for attending the webinar again. So while I'm gonna get Deanna's presentation up here and running for Nationwide. We're gonna move quite along. I will get to your guys' questions in the chat, so don't worry. I will get to those. But let me get Deanna's presentation up here and running, and I apologize, Deanna, for running a little behind.
That's okay.
It's a lot of information.
Yes.
I mean, it's a lot of information we're covering today. So let's see here. Okay. Bear with me, guys. We are getting there. We are getting there. Okay, and Deanna, the floor is all yours.
Fantastic. Thank you so much. So now's a good time to kind of take a deep breath, everybody. Jared just went into so much detail about how your pension is going to work with all your different payout options. So I know that you're probably already feeling your brain expanding with this new information. So I thought I'd start this presentation with something a little silly, something funny, just to get it going. So I'm going to go ahead and play this short video for you. All right. I hope you all heard the audio because I did not. So I'll have to make sure if somebody wants to check in and let me know if you heard the audio or not, we can kind of troubleshoot that next time. But it's just kind of our, Nationwide is a proud partner with Brad Paisley and Eli Manning. I've been lucky enough to meet or Peyton Manning, and he's super funny and down to earth and actually a really cool guy. I was a little intimidated to meet him, but I'd never met a professional football player before, but he's really nice. So anyways, let's start diving into how your deferred comp plan is going to work for you in retirement. So I assume that there's folks out there that have a deferred comp account already. There's probably those of you out there that may not have a deferred comp account. So I want to just cover for you really quickly that it's not too late to sign up for deferred comp. If you're still working for the county, it's actually never too late because I'll cover that in a minute. All right, there we go. Now I can move forward. All right, so I'm Deanna Sisk. I'm the retirement specialist for the deferred comp plan here at Fresno County. So I cover your supplemental retirement plan. And the way this plan works is it's really built to work with your pension in retirement. So once you decide on what your payout option is going to be, sit down and figure out what works best for you. Then you'll know what your pension is going to look like in retirement. Now, with deferred comp, it's a little bit different. The payout options are more flexible. It's designed to kind of cover that gap between what your needs are and what your pension's going to cover. And we know that that gap may change throughout your time in retirement. So that means that your payout options are much more flexible. You can take out a lump sum. You can change your systematic payments. You might need something from that period of retirement until Social Security kicks in. Or you may need something to cover your health insurance before Medicare kicks in. And then once those other benefits come to you in retirement, then you may change your payout options in deferred comp. So just know that your payout options are really flexible. So I always kind of think of this stage in your career, right before retirement, maybe a handful of years left. I kind of think of this stage as putting together a puzzle. So I have a 4-year-old daughter. And for the last year, she's become obsessed with putting puzzles together. Now, we started with really simple puzzles, right? Like 4 to 6 pieces. We've graduated to, in the 20s now, so she's getting better. But when we sat down to learn about putting puzzles together, I taught her to start with those big corner pieces, right? Those are the easiest ones to find. They take up a lot of space. They kind of ground you and figure out where to go from there. Then you build around the edge. And then you start filling in the middle with those more complex pieces that could fit in different places. So I always think of retirement in sort of a similar way. As you're putting together this information, once you decide what your payout option is going to be, that's a big corner piece in your retirement puzzle, right? That's going to be the foundation of what your income is going to be. Then you can look at what your Social Security is going to be. And your deferred comp is really kind of those middle pieces that can fit in multiple different places. You kind of fill them in as needed. Any other sources of income you can also incorporate into your retirement plan, but it's really a lot easier to figure out what your finances are going to look like once you get those big pieces in place. So I'm going to kind of talk through that as we go through today. I know Jared went a little bit over it. That's totally fine. I know there's always so many questions, and this is your opportunity to get answers to them. I mean, you will have more opportunities further down the line, but it's kind of nice when things are fresh. So I'll do my best to keep us all on time today. I will leave questions for the end. I tend to get a little distracted. So type your questions into the question box, and then we can go through them at the end. So this is just our disclosure slide. This presentation is for educational purposes only. It's no recommendation to buy, sell, or trade any investments. All right. So as you start thinking about what your income is going to look like in retirement, you may also be thinking about what kind of life you want to enjoy. What are the sort of things that are going to change on your day-to-day? And are there those maybe bigger bucket list items that you want to tackle in retirement? Travel is one of the most commonly said goals in retirement. I know right now with a global pandemic, traveling is a little more difficult. So that may be something that you want to do right away or put off. But if there are those big goals, starting to think about how to budget for them now may be a good way to prepare for retirement. If you have that big trip or a big purchase, an RV or a cabin or something like that, fishing boat, now's the time to kind of start thinking about how you're going to make that happen. All right, we also know that staying physically active is really important in retirement. Your life is going to change, you know, no longer getting up, getting ready, and heading off to the office. So just kind of start preparing yourself and thinking about what some of those changes might be. We often say that, you know, we often act like retirement is going to be amazing. It's a vacation, right? We also know the reality is sometimes it can be a stressful change. There could be a big change to your financial situation, or that daily routine and that you know, socialization that you get at work may really cause kind of a difficult shift once you're in retirement. So starting to think about some of those other implications, you know, might make that transition a little easier. All right. So we already kind of started talking about those big puzzle pieces, right? Where's the money going to come from? What's pension going to cover? What is your Social Security going to cover? Are you going to take Social Security at full retirement age 67? Or are you considering taking Social Security earlier for a decreased amount? Or are you going to even wait till age 70 to collect Social Security and get a higher benefit amount? These are some of the things that you're going to want to start thinking of. Social Security is such a complex puzzle piece. It's a big corner piece, but it's complex. And so take advantage of the resources that are out there. I know FCERA will often arrange information on Social Security. Nationwide, our Nationwide Retirement Institute, we also try to host informational sessions on Social Security. We do them quarterly, and so keep an eye out from that email announcing your next round of Deferred Comp webinars. There likely will be a Social Security session in there too. I've listened to the session myself like 5 or 6 times, and I learned something every single time. So it's not a one and done. It's something you may have to revisit and talk about and do some research on. So hang in there on Social Security. And then your personal savings bubble, that's going to be your deferred comp, any old retirement accounts you have out there, or any other sources of income you may have in retirement. So let's talk a little bit about what you can contribute, what you can do now while you're still working. So there are contribution limits for the deferred comp. For those of you who are out there who are not participating in the deferred comp plan yet, just know that you get to decide what your contribution is. The minimum is $10 or 1% out of your paycheck, and the max for this calendar year is $20,500. If you're over the age of 50, the maximum is $27,000. And then we do have a special catch-up available in this plan where you can reclaim unutilized contributions up to $39,000 for 3 consecutive years leading up to retirement. So the IRS and everybody knows that people aren't that great about saving for retirement early in their career. That's why we're able to have these special catch-ups so that you can contribute more in your later years when you're earning a little bit more, when you're closer to retirement, you kind of see that light at the end of the tunnel. And then another way to contribute to your plan is to consider moving your unused time off into deferred comp. Now, you'll want to do this right before you leave. Employee benefits likes 3 to 4 weeks notice before your final day of work to do this. And it is subject to your annual contribution limits, but it can be a way to super fund your account while saving some money on tax withholdings. So David Joseph is going to be doing a presentation on this later today. So he'll devote a lot of time to this. Just know that that is one thing you need to consider before you retire. If you want to do it after you've retired, it's too late and they're not able to do it. Then if you want to change your contribution at any time, you can. So a couple of things about the special catch-up. Not everybody utilizes it, but for those that do, just know that it's for 3 consecutive years. It is a one and done. So if you start contributing at the 39,000 max or whatever you're eligible for, and then you stop, you're not able to restart at that higher level. So you'll kind of want to make a plan, figure out if that's right for you, and then stick with it if you can. If you end up working past the 3 years, then you would just go back down to your regular over 50 catch-up or your regular contribution limit. There's no penalty for working past that 3-year consecutive period. And then if that's something you do want to do, you'll work with me and employee benefits to look at what your unclaimed or unutilized contributions are, and we can help you calculate what you'd be eligible to contribute for that special catch-up. All right, so as you're starting to look at your financial situation, what your pension's going to cover, what deferred comp can do for you, you may be noticing a gap. Maybe you have extra, maybe your income might even be going up once you retire. But if there's a gap between what you need and what you're going to get, you have a couple of options. You have a couple of years here to change course or close that gap. You can save more through your deferred comp, utilizing those special catch-ups or over 50 catch-up. You can focus on paying off debt. Nationwide has done a lot of research about retirement, and we have found that the #1 reason people delay retirement is because of credit card debt. So paying down credit card debt and not paying those high interest rates on credit cards can help you have a more comfortable retirement. And then the third option, if you're not able to save more and your budget's already tight, you can't pay off your debt faster, a third option, which may or may not sound as enticing, is to work longer. Nationwide has a really helpful tool called the Interactive Retirement Planner on our website. You can log in and see what your benefits are going to look like. Our platform is connected to FCERA's benefits, so you can put in what tier you are with FCERA, how many years of service you have. It'll give you a pretty close estimation of what your pension is going to be, and it'll tell you if there's a gap between what Nationwide thinks you're going to need to maintain your standard of living and what you're currently saving and on track to earn. And so saving more or working longer can kind of close that gap and give you an opportunity to have the retirement that's more comfortable within your budget. So I've already talked a little bit about how the payout options are more flexible, but I really want to hone in here because I always get a lot of questions about this. So you can take your money out all at once. Just know that you will pay your regular income tax rate on anything you withdraw from your account. So if you do it all in 1 year, that's going to shoot your tax bracket up and you're going to pay taxes on all of that. You can take a partial sum, or you can set up a systematic withdrawal. Now there's a couple of options with the systematic withdrawal. You can tell Nationwide, please send me X amount of money indefinitely or for a certain period of time. The Nationwide will send you that check or deposit every year, every month, every quarter, or every year. You get to decide how often you get the check. You can also determine a period certain. So you could say, I really need this money to last me 15 years. Send me enough so that this account isn't depleted until 15 years, and we can help you with that calculation. So Nationwide will help you with those withdrawals. There's a couple of different ways to make those withdrawals as well. You can log into your account at fresno457.com, or you can call our customer solutions team. I'll be giving you that number later, and they can walk you through. You can talk to them about your needs, your tax questions, your withholdings, all of that, and they can walk you through it. I always suggest that for your first withdrawal, you call somebody. That way you're not surprised, nothing goes haywire, and you can walk through the whole process. You can also use a lifetime payout annuity option, but that is kind of more specific to somebody who may be needing that. Since you have a pension, it's unlikely that you're going to be needing an annuity because you already have that guaranteed income. So it's not something we see a lot of people take advantage of in our plan. All right. So let's go a little bit more into these distributions. So anything you withdraw from your account is going to be taxed as ordinary income. You're never going to pay capital gains taxes on your retirement account. I know that rumor had been going around for a little while that with a new political situation, people's retirement accounts were going to be taxed to high heaven. You're never going to pay those capital gains taxes on your retirement account. It's just taxed as your ordinary income. And so our advice to you is to take out what you need when you need it. If you were to take out your whole account and park it in your savings, you're opening yourself up to some inflation risk, and you're going to be hit very hard with taxes all in 1 year. So always tap in your trusted tax professional, and they can talk to you about a good strategy for withdrawing this money. All right, so for any pre-tax contributions to your 457B, there is no 10% excise tax if you were to take this out before 59.5. So let me say that in another way. If you've been making your contributions through pre-tax, you can start using this money as soon as you separate service, regardless of your age. It's not like an IRA or a 401k where you have to wait until 59.5 to start using this money. However, for any Roth contributions you've been making to this account, you do want to wait until 59.5 in order to get the full tax benefit of the Roth. And then another important thing to know is once you separate service, if your pension is going to cover your needs and you don't need or want to start taking money out of your deferred comp plan, you can let your money just sit and continue to grow based off of your investments. You don't have to start taking it out as soon as you separate service until you turn age 72. 72 is when the IRS wants you to start using this money, so you'll start paying taxes on it. And you'll have to take a required minimum distribution at age 72. I kind of hear people refer to it as RMDs. An RMD is a calculation. They look at your age, your life expectancy, your account balance. They punch it into their little formula and they say, okay, you need to send us, you need to take this money out. We want you to start using it. So what Nationwide will do is as you approach age 72, Nationwide will reach out to you and say, hey, you're approaching your RMD age. How would you like to receive this money? Do you want it on a certain day? Do you want it throughout the year? Do you want it all at once? Do you want it on your birthday? Do you want it at Christmas time? And we'll work with you to make sure you receive that RMD on time in the way that works best for you. We can also just directly deposit it into your account if you provide your banking information. We don't have to mail you a check. So the important thing to know is if you don't respond to Nationwide, if you don't let us know how you'd like to receive your RMD, we're going to send it to you at the end of December, the year you turn 72. Because if you don't take your RMD, you pay a tax penalty on your entire balance, not just on the RMD amount, but your entire balance. So we're going to send it to you. We want you to receive it. We don't want you to pay tax penalty. So make sure as you're approaching that age that you start responding if Nationwide's reaching out to you. All right, so other things to consider as you're starting to think about retirement. Preparing an estate plan is really important. It can be a huge gift to your loved ones and future generations. Make sure that your short-term and long-term goals are achieved. It can help reduce your taxes, so make sure you include your tax professional in any estate planning. And it makes sure that your estate is distributed according to your wishes. So this is really important, and I don't want to linger here for too long, but I do want to say it's important to check your beneficiaries with Nationwide. That's one of the things that I always try to review with folks as we do our nearing retirement one-on-one appointments, because Nationwide took over as your record keeper in 2015. So prior to that, it was another company. And if you enrolled prior to 2015, you may have designated your beneficiary right when you enrolled. And then as Nationwide took over, that beneficiary has stayed the same. Things may have changed. People's life circumstances change. Children may be now in the picture, grandchildren. And so making sure that your beneficiary is exactly how you want it can really cut down on a lot of complications and stress. You can also name a trust as your beneficiary. So you don't have to name just an individual or individuals. You can also name a trust. So if you decide to complete a trust and you'd like Nationwide, or you'd like the trust to be the beneficiary to your deferred comp account, Nationwide won't need the entire trust initially. In order to name your beneficiary, we will just need the title page and the signature page. And then at the end of your life, when the account is transferred over to the trust, we will need the entire trust document at that time. So you have an option. You can provide it all up front and then it's taken care of, or you can just provide the necessary documents now to get it started, and then your loved ones can provide the full trust document at the end of life. So that is another option, making sure that everything is exactly how you'd like it. So it can create some certainty in an otherwise uncertain world. So taking some time to create an estate plan, considering a trust, creating a master file is also really helpful for those who are kind of dealing with end of life issues. So some advice that I received a long time ago that I took to heart was to create a master file. And so my husband and I spend about a couple hours every year. Well, it took a long time to get it set up, but we do have a secure master file that has all of our account information, all of our account logins, account numbers, phone numbers to call, passwords. It's all in one place so that if something were to happen to us, we've talked to my older sister about this, that my sister knows where to go. She can turn off our cell phones. She can contact all of our insurance, our life insurance, our employers, our bank account, our brokerage account. All of that information is there in one place that a loved one can just pick it up and take care of anything that may need to be tied up should something happen to us. Now, it was a huge project to take on to get started. But I'm so glad that we did. We took the time, and now to maintain it is very simple. If we change an important credit card information here or there, or refinance our house, we just have to put that new information in. It can be it's really simple to maintain. So it may be worth just taking that extra time to set it up initially, and then you can get it going. Right. So there's some important tasks that I think you should consider before you retire. Log into your account at Fresno457.com. Now, if you haven't already created a secure username and password, logging in has two important benefits. Now, once you create that secure username and password, nobody else can intercept your mail and create that username and password for you. It's already secure and locked down. So our recommendations is it's a more secure account when you create that username and password. Also, you can manage your account. You have 365 access to your account. You can look at your contribution history, your balance. You can review your investments. That's something also I really suggest that you do. We're going to get there on the checklist, is reviewing your investments. So logging into your account, you will need your account number if you've never done that before. You can find your account number on your quarterly statements, or you can contact me or customer service and we'll verify your ID and provide the account number. We just aren't able to email you your account number for security. All right, check your beneficiaries on file. You can set up an appointment with me, or you can log into your account and check your beneficiaries, make sure those are current and up to date. It's very simple to update. If you need to, you can update it online, or I can email you the form if you'd like to complete a paper form for updating beneficiaries. All right, so reviewing your investments. Now, with deferred comp, for those of you who aren't maybe participating in the plan right now, you have the power to decide what your investments are going to be with deferred comp. Now, you have that ability to change your investments throughout the entire life of that account. So even after you retire, you can change your investment mix at any time. You can use the target date fund to be in an appropriate level of risk based off of your age. You can pick your own investments, or you can always use our managed account. And the managed account is where you tell us what your investment style is. Nationwide gathers information about you. We got 4 simple questions, and then they build an appropriate level of risk based off of your style and your age, current market conditions, builds a portfolio for you. It does all the investing for you. That managed account does have an additional cost. It's 0.55%. It's 0.5% of your account balance for the year, but just know you can always change that in retirement. That is something that does not change. You're not able to contribute to the plan once you're retired because you won't be getting a paycheck anymore, but you can change your investments and continue to see your account grow. So now is a good time to start looking at your time horizon, when you're going to start using this money. Not just about when you're going to retire, because you may not use this money for 8, 10 years until after retirement, or you might start using it, a week after you retire. So looking at when you're going to use the money versus when you're going to retire. That's going to give us a better idea of what kind of risk and what your financial goals are. So reviewing your investments now, and then continue to review them as you get closer to retirement, and then staying on top of it once you're retired. If that's not something that interests you, the managed account can be a great service to you. Then an expert's taking care of it for you, and you don't have to worry about it while you're out on your fishing boat or, touring France or something. And then also an important task is keeping your personal contact information up to date. You may have enrolled with your work email address, or we may only have a work phone number for you on file. So updating that information to your personal email and your personal phone number will help us contact you. We do a dual verification when you log into the account to make sure that it's, very secure. And if we're sending an account verification code to your work email address that's no longer active, that's going to make it more difficult for you to access your account. So take care of it now, update it to your personal information. Will make things a lot easier down the road. All right. So, and then finally, here's my contact information, phone number, email address. Email address is often the best way to reach me because if I'm doing a presentation or meeting with other participants, I'm not going to answer the phone, but I will try to get back to you. I do my best to get back to people within the same day, but I usually dedicate a couple hours on Friday afternoon to make sure I get back to everybody by the end of week. So if you ever have an urgent question and you need something urgently and I didn't answer the phone, you can always call our customer solutions line. I should have put this on the slide, but I'll go ahead and give it to you now if you guys want to write it down. It's 877-693-2457. That will take you to our customer solutions team. They're also licensed professionals. They can help you just like I would be able to. They can execute trades and answer questions, all that kind of good stuff. They also talk to you about loans, distributions, all that kind of stuff. So one thing that's not on the slide deck that I do want to cover really quickly, we have a little bit of time, so that's good. If you do have a loan from your deferred comp account right now, and you have a couple of options once you retire. So first of all, you want to make sure that your loan repayment is coming out of your bank account, not your paycheck. Because if you have not updated your payback information, your account could be defaulted, and then you have to pay a tax penalty. IRS is going to look at that as an unqualified withdrawal, and they're going to penalize you. So we don't want that. We will do our best to try to reach you to stop that from happening. So make sure that your excuse me, any loan is being paid back from your direct deposit, not your payroll. And you can continue paying off that loan in retirement. You don't have to pay the loan off in order to retire. You can continue paying it down, or once you retire, you can contact Customer Solutions and let them know, I want to pay off my loan. I'm retired. I don't want to deal with it anymore. And they can let you know what your payoff options are and how to make that payment. So that's one question I get from time to time about retirement. And then if you use your smartphone to scan over this QR code, it will take you to my online scheduler. You can schedule some time one-on-one with me, and we can talk about your account, any questions you may have, any specific things I didn't cover today. But please, I'm here, and I really do love meeting with people as they get close to retirement. It's such an exciting time, and I love hearing about your plans for retirement, how you're going to use this money. And so just know I'm here for you anytime, and I'm your retirement specialist in retirement. So after you've retired, if you have questions about your investments or when you're going to get your tax documents, you can contact me, and I can still help you once you're retired. Nationwide also has kind of a big fleet of help behind the scenes once you're retired. So I know Jared kind of briefly mentioned at the end of his presentation looking at some financial planning. So complimentary to your account with Nationwide, you do have access to our free financial planning experts at Nationwide. We have a financial needs analysis tool that you're going to pre-fill out and turn it into our specialized team, and they will provide you free financial planning information. And it's really helpful, and it's complimentary to your account here through your deferred comp account. So you can save yourself a ton of money if you go through Nationwide, and they'll look at your healthcare needs, your Social Security. We also have a Social Security needs assessment tool. We will be going over that when Nationwide does our Social Security presentation in the first quarter. That will be at the end of February, beginning of March. And then you can kind of dive in and get some feedback, get a little bit of help on making those Social Security decisions. And we can show you what your benefits are going to look like, and you can kind of do an apples to apples comparison from somebody whose entire goal is just to help you with zero financial pressure to do anything or purchase anything. So take advantage of those complimentary services that Nationwide provides. And it's something that we're really proud of because we know that it really helps. I know my boss, my program director, you may have met him. Sometimes he comes in on a webinar with me, Jake Sowers. He helped his parents decide what to do with their Social Security based off of our Social Security needs assessment plan. So we've seen it work in real life, and it really is something that I'm really proud of with our company. So we have some time for some questions. I'm going to go ahead and pull up the question box. All right.
I think you're going to start, I don't know if you could see my cursor, probably right here.
Let's see. Okay, when withdrawing funds from deferred comp, can we have taxes taken out upon that withdrawal? Oh, that's a great question. And I cannot believe that I forgot to cover it. The withholdings, yes. So when you request a withdrawal of your funds from deferred comp, Nationwide will withhold some of those funds to cover your taxes. So the way that the withholdings work is the default withholdings are 20% for federal and 2% for state. Nationwide will automatically just withhold that from any withdrawal, with one exception, which I'll get into. You can always have Nationwide withhold more. If you know you're in a certain tax bracket, you know what your state and federal taxes are, which By the end of January, I will have the 2022 tax planning guide, and I'd be happy to send that out to you. So shoot me an email if you want that tax planning guide. And when I receive it, I'll send it out. You know what tax bracket you fall into. So you can always have Nationwide withhold more or the default. And then at the end of the year, you'll get your tax form from Nationwide, a 1099 tax form, and that will show how much you withdrew from your deferred comp account, how much was withheld and is already paid towards those taxes. And then you'll use that tax form with your tax professional to file your taxes to find out if you get a return, yay, or if you owe more, boo. So you can have that withheld. Here's the one exception. If you set up a systematic payment that's going to last 10 years or longer, Nationwide will not withhold any taxes from that. So you'll be on the hook for all of the taxes if you set up a 10-year systematic payment or more. Great question. Thank you so much. Okay, I have another question here. I'm retiring at the end of the month and I want to take all my contributions to the retirement plan, but currently I still have my loan repayment for the Nationwide for the next several repayment schedules. How and what should I do? All right, so you can pay off your loan. Contact Nationwide now. You can pay it off early now if you'd like, or you can work with Customer Solutions to withdraw enough and then leave beyond what would need to pay off the loan. So call Customer Solutions, 877-693-2457. So one thing about withdrawing all your funds with the account. Now, if you can roll your funds over into an IRA once you're retired. Now, if you're under the age 59 and a half, we don't recommend it because remember how I said as soon as you separate service, you can start using your pre-tax contributions right away with no tax penalty. That's only true as long as this money is in a 457B. So if you're retiring before 59 and a half and you retire and you roll this money out into an IRA, the IRA rules are going to take over and you can't use this money until 59 and a half without paying a huge tax penalty. So most financial advisors won't tell you that. So it's important that you know, and you don't want to place restrictions on your money for a significant period of time. If you're retiring at age 50, that's almost 10 years that you can't touch this money. Who knows what's going to happen in those 10 years? So make sure you leave your money within the 457B or cash, use it yourself. Don't consider rolling this money over into an IRA until after 59 and a half. Okay. Let me keep going. Okay, so when do we pay taxes on deferred comp contributions? So you're going to pay taxes. It depends on what kind of contributions you're making. If you're making a pre-tax contribution, the way that works is the contribution comes out of your paycheck before taxes are paid. So you're not paying any taxes on that income now. It goes into your account and grows. And then when you pull that money out of your 457B and deposit it into your checking account, that's when you're going to pay taxes on it. That calendar year is when you're going to owe taxes on it. When you take the money out and put it in your into your bank. Unless you're making Roth contributions. If you're making Roth 457B contributions, the contribution comes out of your paycheck after taxes are already paid. So you're paying your taxes up front. The money goes into your account and grows. And then when you use the money after 59 and a half to make sure you get that full tax benefit, you won't have to pay taxes on it. So it just depends on what type of contribution you're making. Now, we didn't really talk too much about pre-tax versus Roth. We have a few minutes now. I'd like to go into it. Most people, when they get to the end of their, career and they're ready to retire, many people's priority is to lower their taxes, to save some money on taxes. Their tax professional is saying, hey, you need to contribute more, lower your taxable amount now. So most people use pre-tax when they get close to retirement. However, if you'd like to have a bucket of money in retirement that you don't have to pay taxes on, because remember, you're going to pay taxes on your pension. Those are pre-tax contributions. You're going to pay taxes on a portion of your Social Security, and you're going to pay taxes on any pre-tax contributions to your deferred comp. If you want a bucket of money in retirement that you can use without worrying about taxes, you know every penny is yours, Roth may be a good way to contribute now. So it just depends on what your personal goals are. And there's truly no right or wrong answer. It's just about how you want to structure your finances in retirement. Okay. So I have a question. So I am unable to keep investing into this account after separation. Is there an option to keep investing? So Dan, you cannot contribute to the plan after you've retired. The IRS says you have to have an earned income in order to save for retirement. That's true for an IRA, 401k, 457B. And if you're retired collecting your pension, that's not an earned income. So no, you cannot contribute to your plan once you're retired, but you can let the money continue to grow based off of the investments. So you are investing. You're just not contributing in retirement. And you can change those investments as you went through retirement. There's no change to your investment options in retirement. All right, good morning. What percentage RMD at 72, and can Nationwide roll a portion of my RMD and IRA into the other portion of my bank account? Sure. So like I said, the RMD isn't a percentage. It's a calculation based off of your account balance, your age, your life expectancy, and an economic indicator. Can't remember off the top of my head what it is. It ends up being around-ish 4%. So each year you'll need to take out about 4%-ish. You can directly deposit that right into your banking information. If you provide your bank account with us, we'll just directly deposit it in there. So now it looks like you have a 457B and an IRA. You'll need to take an RMD for both. So don't think that just because you took an RMD for one, you're off the hook with the other. This is why oftentimes people do consolidate their accounts in retirement. It makes it a lot easier for calculating that RMD. Just know that even though you can't contribute once you're retired, you can consolidate with Nationwide. If you're happy with what we're providing for you, you like Nationwide, you might even have lower fees on your Nationwide account than you do on your IRA. You can roll over any other retirement accounts into your 457B, even in retirement. So if you ever want to consolidate with Nationwide, you can continue to do that even after retirement. Okay, I have a question here. What does gap mean? So gap may be talking about at the beginning when I was saying there may be a gap between what you're wanting in retirement or needing in retirement and what you're going to get. That gap would be the difference between maintaining your standard of living or making some really dramatic cuts on your budget when you retire. So we like to see a small gap so you don't have to make big changes. I know people in the olden days, right, used to think, I'm going to work, I'm going to pay off my house, and then I'm never going to spend another dime in retirement. And we just know through years and years of research that people actually do maintain their standard of living and their spending habits in retirement. So what you're spending and living off of today is probably pretty close to what you're going to need in retirement. Okay. Can we use Nationwide as our investor outside of county? If so, is there a lot of fees I need to worry about? So yes, you can use Nationwide. Nationwide has this full, service IRAs or anything outside of your deferred comp account. The benefit to that being you may have different investment options, but your fees would be higher. The reason why we're able to keep our fees so low with your current employer-sponsored plan is we have over 7,000 participants here in our plan. So we're able to keep those fees low so more of your money goes to growing for you and less goes to paying fees. So you can use Nationwide services outside of your deferred comp, but that's something that you may want to talk with the financial planning team about to see if that's in your best interest. All right, can you use deferred comp to pay for healthcare premiums? Yes. Oftentimes when I'm meeting with people as they're getting close to retirement, that's one of the main things we discuss. how you're going to provide healthcare for yourself. If you're not lucky enough to have a spouse that will have, healthcare through their employer, it's going to be a huge concern. So back to Fresno457.com, we do have a healthcare estimator tool. The closer you are to retirement, the more accurate the tool is, but it will give you a general, idea of what you may be paying for healthcare once you retire. All right. Is there a limit to how much leave time we can be moved into deferred comp before retirement? Yeah, so the limit will be subjected to your annual contribution limits. So you are going to want to work with employee benefits to make sure that you're, anything that you may be over, they can cash out to you in your final check. And I know David will be covering that for you in that presentation at 11 today. All right, how does Nationwide compare to Vanguard or other companies? So Nationwide is a record keeper, and we also have other like financial investment tools available in Nationwide. Vanguard is a investment house, if you will. So they kind of specialize in index funds, and everybody talks about Vanguard because their index funds are inexpensive. They have low fees. Now, if you look within our plan, we do have Vanguard investments within our plan. So Nationwide is a record keeper along with your plan fiduciary and your oversight board. They pick the investments that they think are going to be good quality long-term investments for you, and they're constantly evaluating that. They're doing the research, they're deep diving into all the different investment options, making sure that they are a good quality long-term investment for you. Now, within that, some Vanguard funds have been selected. So you can invest your money in Vanguard index funds within your plan. So if you think of Vanguard as kind of a brand, they're a brand of investing along with BlackRock and others, T. Rowe Price, and then Nationwide is kind of that umbrella over how your plan is being used. All right.
I think we probably have time for one more.
Okay. Okay, if my spouse has a deferred comp account from another agency, can we move and consolidate his account into mine with Nationwide once we both retire? Unfortunately, the IRS is going to look at retirements specific to you, specific to your Social Security number. So you can't consolidate accounts with other people with retirement accounts. They do have to be separate for you. And will Nationwide have more? Sorry, one more quick one. Will Nationwide have more fund options available this year? Yeah, Nationwide, along with your plan fiduciary and the oversight board, are always looking at changing your investments. We do have an investment lineup change scheduled. And if you ever have questions about how that process works, meet with me. You can always join our Deferred Comp Management Council board meetings. I like them. It allows me to think a little more nerdy and into the weeds about the investments, but it's not for everybody. All right, so we do have to move on. I want to thank you all for your awesome questions today. I feel like I really appreciate your attendance and your attention because I know that you're getting so much information right now. It's very overwhelming, but I'll try to get back to you with these questions that I'm not able to answer right now. And then, like I said, always reach out to me. I'm here for you if you ever want to meet one-on-one. So thank you so much.
Thank you, Deanna. I appreciate it. Yeah, so go ahead and if you have any other questions that weren't able to get answered, she has her contact information on the screen. So go ahead and send her an email and she'll be able to answer those questions for you. We are going to have to move on. We did have a scheduled break, but for the sake of time, I think we're just going to take a 2-minute break, and then I'll have Brittany from County of Fresno HR coming up to talk about employee benefits. So we will begin that presentation at 10:45. So I'm going to get that up for you guys in just a moment. If you guys want to take a break, get some water, feel free to do so. I'm going to get everything ready to go. Let's see here. And just as a reminder for everybody, we are this is being recorded, so you guys can go back and watch this. I know that there's a lot of questions that weren't, you guys have a lot of questions. I think that's really fantastic. Just remember that you can always contact us, send us an email, give us a phone call. We'll be happy to answer any of those questions. But yes, this is being recorded for you guys to watch later, and we'll upload that for you. So just another minute here, and then I'm going to get Brittany up here to present. Let's see here. Okay. All right, so we're going to move on to the next presentation. So next, we're going to be covering retiree health insurance, and I have Brittany Simmons from the County of Fresno Human Resources Department that's going to be giving the presentation today. So Brittany, I thank you for being here this morning, and the floor is yours.
All right, and good morning, everyone, and thank you for taking the time to join today's pre-retirement webinar, and thank you to Jared for coordinating this. I really appreciate all the work that went into this webinar today. As Jared said, my name is Brittany Simmons, and I'm a Human Resources Analyst in Employee Benefits and Main HR. Today, I will be going over the health insurance options upon retiring from the county. Before I start diving into these options, there are a couple questions that you should consider as an active employee. One of those questions is, when will my health insurance terminate? Your health insurance will most likely terminate at the end of the pay period in which you retire. The County of Fresno health insurance options operate with biweekly eligibility, opposed to a lot of other employers who operate with monthly eligibility. This means that your coverage will most likely not extend until the end of the month that you retire in. Again, the health insurance will most likely terminate at the end of the pay period in which you retire. This is dependent upon whether your final paycheck will net enough for health and deductions to be withheld. If someone is to retire effective March 30th or March 31st, their health insurance would most likely terminate effective April 3rd. Another question that our office receives is, will I see a health insurance deduction on my final paycheck? The answer is most likely. Please remember that your final paycheck is typically for the pay period in which you retired in. As a result, you will see a final health insurance deduction on that final paycheck, provided there is enough net income. And if you can go to the next slide, please, Jared.
Oh, I think you actually may have control here. So let's see if you actually. If not, I can go to the, oh, perfect.
There it goes. Thank you. And when you separate from the county, you have two options when it comes to health insurance. One option is COBRA. This is the most popular choice and is usually the best option for retirees that are not Medicare eligible. Everyone is different. You can discuss with a benefits team member before you retire. The other option is a retiree plan, which is usually the best option for Medicare eligible retirees and those who have exhausted their COBRA plan. And what is COBRA? COBRA is the federal law that allows you to continue the coverage you had as an active employee, but you must pay the full cost of the plan on a monthly basis. This means that there is no longer a county contribution to the premium. Who can be covered? Whoever is on your plan at the time of separation is eligible to continue coverage under COBRA. If you want to add a dependent not already on your plan, you'll be able to do so during open enrollment or if the dependent experiences a qualifying event. When would your COBRA coverage start? Once elected and premiums are paid to current, COBRA is made effective from the date that active coverage terminated, so that there is no lapse in coverage. For example, if your active employee health insurance terminates on April 3rd, COBRA would be made effective April 4th. And how long does COBRA insurance last? You can be covered under COBRA for a total of 36 months. The first 18 months you are covered under federal COBRA. The last 18 months you are covered under Cal COBRA. What does COBRA cover? Since COBRA is the continuation of whatever plan you had as an active employee, you will have the same plan design and same copays. Your dental, vision, and mental health plans will also remain the same. However, please note that there is no dental or vision coverage under Cal Cobra. Some of the Cobra rules are: you will have 60 days after you lose active coverage or 60 days from the date on the Cobra notice, whichever is later, to elect the Cobra coverage. You will have an additional 45 days to make your initial payment. Please keep in mind that Cobra coverage will not be activated until the first payment is received. You may need to pay any past due premiums if you wait until the last minute to elect. After the initial payment is made, payments are due on the first of the month with a 30-day grace period. But keep in mind that if your plan is terminated due to a late payment, you may not be able to get back on the plan. Cobra notices, payments, and adherence of the rules is administered by our third-party administrator, Navia Benefit Solutions, formerly known as Administrative Solutions, Inc. Your Cobra notice will come from them. This is also who you'll be making payments to every month. Once your Cobra expires, retirees have the option of coming onto a retiree plan within 30 days of losing Cobra coverage. Oops. Jared, is it possible to go back a couple slides? I think I went too far.
Sure. Which slide do you need to go back to?
Just the retiree plans page. Give me one.
There we go.
One. Thank you.
Mhm.
The county makes available a pre-65 plan for non-Medicare eligible retirees, and it makes available 3 post-65 plans for Medicare entitled retirees. But before I give you information on these plans, I'd like to give you some details that pertain to all the retiree plans available. The premium for these plans are deducted from your pension and are prepaid, meaning that the retirement check at the end of the month pays for the upcoming month. For example, the pension check received at the end of January will have a deduction for February premiums. There is an open enrollment period for the retiree plans. During this time, retirees can make plan changes or add dependents without a qualifying event. As a retiree of the County of Fresno, you are eligible to enroll in our retiree plans and will receive open enrollment materials, even if our plans aren't initially elected. So, similar to the County of Fresno active plans, rates and/or plans may change every year. It is important that you stay informed and read all open enrollment materials carefully. It is also important that you keep your address up to date so you continue to receive all relevant information. Retirees can add dependents mid-year with a qualifying event, but must be within 30 days of the qualifying event to elect, such as marriage, birth, loss of coverage, etc. Retirees can terminate their enrollment mid-year without a qualifying event, but must provide a 30-day notice of cancellation to prevent any necessary premium deductions. Plan 1 on our rate sheet is the Anthem Blue Cross High Deductible PPO plan, otherwise known as an HD PPO. Before describing the benefits of this plan, note that a deductible is the amount a member must pay out of pocket before the plan will pay for covered services, and deductibles are based on a calendar year. This plan has a $1,500 individual deductible and a $3,000 family deductible for covered in-network services, with 20% coinsurance. That's the portion that the member must pay, with the plan paying the remaining 80%. If you have family coverage, $2,700 of the family deductible must be met by one of the covered members before the plan will pay 80% for that person. The rest of the members on the plan will only have to meet the remaining $300, and the plan will begin paying the 80% for all members, or through any other combination of deductible application once the total $3,000 is met. Then the plan will pay 80% of covered in-network plan services. Medical, prescription, and mental health is through Anthem and will count towards the deductible. Dental and vision services are provided by the other insurance carriers and do not count towards the deductible. The member will continue to pay the coinsurance for covered in-network services until they have reached their out-of-pocket maximum, which is $3,000 for individuals and $5,000 if there are any dependents added. Once the out-of-pocket maximum has been reached, the plan will pay 100% of the covered in-network medical and prescription benefits. If you obtain services from an out-of-network provider, you may be subject to higher deductibles and out-of-pocket maximum amounts for these services. Because this plan is a high deductible plan, it is compatible with a health savings account or an HSA. HSAs are available at most financial institutions. Your dental and vision coverage are the same options through Delta Dental, Delta Care, and VSP as the active employee plans. The United American Retiree First Plan is Plan 2 on the County of Fresno Health rate sheets, with prescription benefits covered through United Healthcare. The plan is administered by Retiree First. This plan is a supplemental plan to Medicare, meaning that Medicare will pay first, United American or United Healthcare will pay the remainder. To be eligible, the participant must be enrolled in Medicare Parts A and B. There is no out-of-pocket, meaning there are no copays or deductibles for doctor visits or hospitalizations. With the Retiree First plan, you can go to any willing provider. This means there isn't a provider list. Any doctor that takes Medicare will also take this plan. Under this plan, you will get prescription coverage through United Healthcare, which has copays for prescription by tier. For instance, you pay a $0 copay for generic, a $20 copay for brand, and a $30 copay for non-formulary prescriptions. There is also a reduced copay for a 3-month or 90-day supply mail orders on certain prescriptions. With this plan, you do not have to worry about the donut hole in prescription, which is the gap in prescription coverage that you find in an individual Part D plan. Vision coverage is provided by VSP. The Senior Advantage High option is Plan 3, and the Kaiser Senior Advantage Low option is Plan 4 on our County of Fresno rate sheets. With the Senior Advantage plans, by signing up, you assign your Medicare benefits to Kaiser, and they in turn charge you copays for services. Medical, vision, and pharmaceutical benefits are provided through your local Kaiser, except in the case of emergency services you may need to access when out of the area. Reduced copays are available on some prescription medication when filled through mail order. There are distinct differences in copay amounts between the high option and the low option plans. We have the information posted on our website, or if you have any questions about the difference in the plan, you can contact our office. As with the pre-65 plan, dental coverage on the Medicare plans is covered through Delta Dental or Delta Care. And to be eligible to enroll in any of the Medicare plans, members must be enrolled in Medicare Parts A and B. Please note that there is a cost to Part B with any Medicare plan, and there are very strict guidelines with enrollment and terminations. Enrollment into a Medicare plan is not automatic, so it is important that you contact our office once you become Medicare entitled so that we can go over your options and enroll you into a plan. And then the next slide is just going to have our contact information, but I believe we're going to have some time to go over a couple of the questions that have gone in.
Yeah, you got some time, Brittany, so go right ahead.
Perfect. Okay, so it looks like the first question here is the county looking into providing continued health benefits after retirement? If not, how do we proceed to make the change? So you'll automatically be mailed a COBRA notice from our third-party administrator, Navia Benefit Solutions, upon your retirement. Just due to data processing and arrears, this COBRA notice might not be mailed up to 2 weeks after your separation date. So if you're planning on needing that COBRA coverage, or you need the COBRA notice to confirm your loss of coverage with the county as an active employee, please contact our office the week of your retirement date, so we can work on expediting that notice to you. So that's automatic, and there'll be details in that COBRA notice on how to make an online portal and make payments online. As for the retiree health insurance, we will need a health insurance application submitted to our office prior to your retirement date in order to enroll you into our retirement plan. Our website will list those options, the same options that I went over today. If you're going into the pre-65 Anthem plan, then there's only the retiree health insurance application from the County of Fresno required to enroll in that plan. If you're signing up for a Medicare plan, either through Kaiser or through Retiree First, there is a secondary Kaiser or United Healthcare form that it's needed to complete your enrollment. And if you're Medicare eligible, we will also need a copy of your Medicare card showing proof of Parts A and B to enroll in those plans. How much is COBRA for employee and spouse at this time? It's dependent on the plan, the medical plan and the dental plan that you're enrolled in. We have the rates posted on our website, or if you would like that email to you, just go ahead and email that hrbenefits@fresnocountyca.gov. We can look up what plan you're enrolled in and what the monthly premium would be if you were to elect coverage. Are the COBRA deadlines and effective times in the PowerPoint? Are talking fast? No, those will be, sorry about that. I kind of breezed through the information. It's just a lot to go through in a short period of time. The COBRA deadlines will be listed in your COBRA notice. We, again, if you have questions about the deadlines and the effective dates, you can just email our office and we'll be more than happy to go over that with you. Is there a current cost estimate for COBRA? What is the monthly cost? Again, that's dependent on the plan you are enrolled in and which tier you're enrolled in. You do not have to elect the coverage for every member that is currently on your plan. So for instance, say you have a spouse and children enrolled in your plan, but your spouse is going to pick up the coverage for you and your children on their other employer-sponsored plan, and you just need the COBRA coverage for yourself. You can do that without a qualifying event. You can go ahead and just elect the coverage for whoever needs it at that time. Again, there may be needed to be a qualifying event to enroll back into the plan. If the health plan terms mid-month, is the first and last month of premium prorated? Yes, that's a great question. So the premiums will be prorated based on how many days you are enrolling into the plan for that month. So again, a lot of employees are retiring, I think, March 30th and 31st this year. Coverage will go through April 3rd, and then your April premiums would be prorated from April 4th to April 30th. If you don't opt into the Fresno County Retire Plans pre-65, will you still get the open enrollment material every year? Yes. So as a participant of FCERA and being on their mailing list, you will continue to be eligible for our County of Fresno retiree plans, and you will receive open enrollment materials every year. It's going to be typically around October. It is important that you keep your address up to date with both the retirement office and the employee benefits office to ensure that you're receiving those materials. Will COBRA be deducted from the retirement check pre-tax or after tax? So COBRA premiums are not able to be deducted from your pension check. The COBRA payments you will be making directly to our third-party administrator, and those would be a pre-tax amount as health insurance. For the retiree premiums, we are able to set up the deduction from your pension check, and I believe those would be pre-tax. Is the dental vision also included in COBRA, just like the same healthcare coverage we get now? So for the federal COBRA, which is the first 18 months of the total 36 months of COBRA coverage, it includes the dental and vision exactly the same way as you were as an active employee. Once that first 18 months expires, you'll hit that second 18-month period, which is Cal COBRA, and it just includes the medical. There is a group through FCERA that you're eligible for. It's called REFCO, and they offer individual dental and vision plans. And you can sign up for those to work with your Cal COBRA coverage, just the medical premium through there, and then the dental and vision through REFCO. So there's only the PPO plan options available for pre-65. Yes, that is the only retirement plan that we have available for pre-65 retirees. You are eligible to continue your COBRA and your insurance through COBRA, and that's what a lot of employees do if they're pre-65. They'll elect COBRA up until they become Medicare eligible, and then once they become Medicare eligible, they'll switch over to one of our Medicare plans. If we are purchasing health benefits outside of Fresno County, we don't need to send anything except for the COBRA. If you already have your health insurance figured out for after you retire, there's no further action that you need with our office unless you need a termination of benefits letter, just confirming when your last day of coverage as an active employee will be. You will still receive the COBRA notice. It is a federal law, so we do have to mail that out to you. It is still an option for any dependents that were currently enrolled on your plan if they wanted to continue their coverage. The retiree health insurance is just an option out there that's available to you. It's not required that you take it. But again, as a County of Fresno retiree, say that other coverage ends or a qualifying event happens and that plan no longer works for you, you are still eligible to enroll back into the County of Fresno retiree health plans if you experience a qualifying event or during the next open enrollment period. There are no pre-65 Kaiser plans. That is correct. We do have, if you're a Kaiser member as an active employee, you can continue your health insurance through COBRA on the Kaiser plan, but not through the retirement plan.
Okay, so I think this might be the last one that we have time for here.
Okay. And so all the vision, dental, healthcare, deductibles, and exact coverages continue through COBRA for 3 years. Seamless. Yes, so that is the way that it's set up. It's a federal law to continue the health insurance the exact same way it was as an active employee. The only caveat to that is if there is a plan change or during the next open enrollment, we won't be offering plans anymore. The plan will automatically terminate at the end of that plan year, but you will have the opportunity to elect a new plan that will work better for you. Okay, and I know that's a lot of information. There's a lot of questions. If you have any more questions that weren't answered, please feel free to email our office, hrbenefits@fresnocountyca.gov, or call our office at 559-600-1810.
Awesome. Thank you, Brittany, for being here and giving that awesome presentation and a lot of good information. So guys, I apologize. It seems like we're kind of rushing through a lot of stuff, but there's just a ton of information we're covering. So just keep in mind that this presentation is being recorded, so you guys can go back and watch that. So now I'm getting the presentation ready for David Joseph here, who's going to talk about annual leave hours. Let's see here, get this up here and running.
Thanks, Jared. And
no problem.
Yeah, and you said that we are in control of our slides, or?
Yes, I will.
Okay.
I will give you the control of those slides in just a second here.
That's a lot of power, Jared. I don't know if I can be trusted with. Okay. All right. Excellent. Am I good to go?
Yep, the floor is yours.
All right. Thank you, sir. And again, I'd echo my previous presenters in saying, thanks very much for coming in, to everybody, take the time to learn all this stuff. And, again, thanks, Jared, for setting this all up. But I'm David Joseph. I'm a senior analyst with employee benefits. And the purpose of my presentation is to provide just some basic information regarding your accrued leave and your leave payout. All of the information that I'll be discussing today can be found in sections 600 through 900 of the county's salary resolutions. Okay, so how many hours will be paid out? So these are the maximums that you see here. So most represented employees, as well as unrepresented management, senior management department heads, 600 hours will be the maximum because most of those employees are on the annual leave 4 plan. If you were hired on or before October 9th of 1983, then you'd be subject to the 1,100 hour maximum payout. If you're in Unit 1, 14, 35, 38, you would be subject to a maximum of 320 vacation hours paid out. And if you have any unused accrued comp and holiday time, that will all be paid out upon separation. So you don't have to make special arrangements to use that prior to. You can, you just don't have to. Okay, what happens to unpaid leave balances? So if you have an unpaid balance that's not subject to payout, what happens? So if you have time off bank hours, unused sick leave, or depending on your leave plan, hours in excess of 400 or 1,100, those will be used to extend service credit for retirement purposes. Now, if you have old annual leave, some of you might have the old annual leave. If it has a cash balance at all, and you'd like that cash balance to be paid out, you'll need to contact main payroll at least 2 weeks prior to your last day of work so they can get that set up for you. Otherwise, however many hours you have accrued of old annual leave will be used to extend service credit like time off bank, unused sick, etc. Okay, how do you calculate the value of your leave payout? Well, it's pretty simple. You just take your accrued hours and you multiply it by your base hourly rate. Now, please note this does not include differentials or other special pay, special salary upgrades, etc. Just whatever your base is, you multiply it by your accrued rate. And it's not a separate check. So instead, all of your accrued hours will be included on your final regular paycheck as income. That's important to note. A lot of people think that it is a separate check, but it is not. So just be aware of that. Okay, taxes, which is everybody's favorite. Okay, so your payout is subject to federal, state, Social Security, and Medicare taxes. In total, as you can see there, you may end up paying more than 1/3 of the leave payout in taxes. Okay, how can you avoid? That's kind of a clickbaity title, isn't it? It's more like how can you defer taxes? Deferred comp is a great way to defer taxes. You can choose to make a one-time contribution to your account from that leave payout amount. And just like a regular deferred comp contribution, you will not pay federal or state withholding taxes or any federal or state taxes until you make a withdrawal from your account. Now, let's see here. The question is, should you contribute? Well, the short answer is maybe. Maybe you should, maybe you shouldn't. But the big question I like to ask people is, if you're trying to decide, if you don't need the money now, why not avoid paying taxes until you do? An additional benefit that you can see here is if you have any eligible service credit to purchase for retirement purposes, like let's say you went on an unpaid medical leave of absence for 3 months and you didn't pay into the retirement plan. If you can buy that time back, you can also use your deferred comp money for that, and it would be a non-taxable transfer. So that's a nice option for you. Okay, so you can see the contribution limits there. So if you're over 50, it's 27,000. The special catch-up provision you can do, for 2022, at least it's $41,000. That is subject to prior year under contributions. So if you've maxed out your contributions every year since your start date, that's awesome. You won't be eligible for the special catch-up, but hopefully you won't need that because you have such a high balance. You can see the age requirements there. Now, if you decide that you'd like to contribute some portion of your leave payout to your deferred comp account, please make sure you contact me 4 to 6 weeks before your last day of work, or as soon as possible if it's within those 4 to 6 weeks. And the reason for that is because of the IRS regulations and the contribution changes, which is what this would be, must be made before the start of the month that you receive your final paycheck. So for example, if your last day of work is March 4th of this year, your final check will be March 18th. However, because of the rule, your contribution change must be received by our office no later than the end of February, or February 28th. And also please note, you do not have to have an existing deferred comp account to contribute some portion of your leave payout to your deferred comp account. And that's it. That's, like I said, it's pretty basic. It's the basic information here. So, I've provided our contact information, but if you have any questions, looks like we've got a few questions. I'll answer those now. Okay, can we roll vacation leave time into deferred comp? It's technically considered a contribution, but absolutely. Like I was saying, you'll get your payout on your final check, and then you decide how much of that you'd like to contribute. Can we move accrued? I believe it's move accrued time to deferred comp prior to retirement. Unfortunately, no. The accrued leave payout is only available upon separation from service, at least at this time. Hopefully that would change in the future. That'd be awesome, but not at this time. Can you break it out? Portion on payout? Oh, absolutely. So, yeah, can you put a portion of your leave payout to deferred comp? Yes, absolutely. Fortunately or unfortunately, you will receive the full leave payout. So, for example, if your accrued leave equals $10,000, you'll get that whole $10,000 on your final paycheck. And so out of that, you can say, yes, I'd like to put $5,000 into deferred comp and just pay taxes on the other $5,000 and get what's left over. Okay, let's see. Is your final paycheck that includes the annual leave will be used when calculating the retirement? No, I do not believe that annual leave is annual leave is not part of your calculation for your retirement benefit. Okay. All right. It looks like that's all there is for the moment. Does anybody have any other questions? Or if not, please feel free to give our office a call, 600-1810, or like Brittany was saying, HR benefits at fresnocountyca.gov. And obviously we got another plug for Deanna. Reach out to her if you have other questions. So thank you very much for having me.
Awesome. Thank you, David, I really appreciate you coming on today and giving that presentation.
Thank you.
So again, guys, if you have any more questions about annual leave, feel free to call Employee Benefits or send them an email. They'll be able to let's see. We have two more. Maybe you can answer these really quickly here.
Let's see. If you retire around age 70, when do I contribute to the 457B? Well, you can contribute at any time. At age 70. I mean, it doesn't matter. I mean, in terms of using the special catch-up, that might be a little tricky. I would say, yeah, give me a call offline and we can go over the specifics. Finally, can I use my annual leave payout to pay off an existing loan? You can. There's no tax advantage to that. To using the payoff for an existing loan. Like, we can't set up a final paycheck via payroll deduction. That is an arrangement you might want to make through you'd make through Nationwide. In terms of loans, you don't have to pay it back. You have the option of not paying it back, and you can pay taxes on the balance, or you can pay it off in full if you'd like. And finally, you can set up monthly deductions after retirement. So those are options, but you don't have to pay it back.
All right. Awesome. Well, thank you again, David. I appreciate your time.
Thank you.
And we're going to move right along here to the last presentation. We're going to get Desmond here from Kaiser to come up and talk about Medicare. So let me get that presentation up for you guys right now. Let's see here. Make it. Let's see here. And see here. All right, and then Desmond, are you there?
I am.
All right.
Good afternoon, or good morning still, right?
Good morning. Yes. All right, the floor is yours.
Great, thank you. Let me just make sure I can forward the presentation.
Is it letting you forward it, I hope?
It isn't. Give me. Oh, okay, double clicked worked.
There we go.
All right. Well, I do thank all of you for attending this Medicare 101. This is going to be primarily about just the Medicare basics. And Medicare is Medicare. So if you end up moving to Hawaii, you end up moving to Maine, to Florida, somewhere in between, maybe Texas, the Medicare program is the same. I know that it has been a little bit of a lengthy meeting here, you all knowing coming in that you're going to spend your morning with us. And Medicare, given that it's federal insurance and that this is a federal insurance conversation, it can be a little bit dry and dull. So we'll do our best to make sure that this information is easy for you to consume and understand. And hopefully after this session, it may just take a couple of reviews of the PowerPoint. I know many of you have been asking for it. You leave here with a little bit better of an understanding of the Medicare program. And this is important really because as you become Medicare eligible, you get closer to Medicare eligibility, you are expected to understand your insurance. And this can be difficult because anytime you had questions about insurance, you had your county representatives right there at your site, and they still will be there for you. But when it comes down to it, Medicare belongs to you. And if Medicare has an issue or there's a problem that needs to be resolved, there needs to be maybe an attestation, that's not something you can call your carrier about, and that's not something you can call the county about, because Medicare doesn't want to talk to them. They want to talk to you. You are the owner of the entitlement, and rightly so. You are the one who has earned it. So let's go ahead and get into this presentation. This is just a little bit of background of Kaiser Permanente. We've been coordinating with the Medicare program since implementation, so for a very long time. Those of you who are Kaiser members understand our delivery system, and those of you who don't, well, we will get into just a little bit of detail on that towards the end. But again, this is going to be a basic Medicare 101. Okay, so who can join Medicare? Well, everybody qualifies for Medicare upon turning 65. There are also those who may qualify for Medicare at a little bit of an earlier age, and this can be for any number of reasons that we're going to cover right here in these next 3 bullets. It might be because of a long-term disability status, and this typically comes with a 2-year waiting period. So it means that you've been deemed eligible, but then they have you wait for 2 years, and then you qualify for the Medicare eligibility. And that might be you. That might be maybe a neighbor. You know somebody who's under 65 who has Medicare, and that's possibly why. The third pool of people that qualify for Medicare are those with end-stage renal disease or kidney failure. So these are persons who are needing a new kidney. They need routine dialysis. They're typically on several medications, and so Medicare has come in and backed them as their insurance. And then the last pool of people are those with ALS or Lou Gehrig's disease. They also a similar situation, needing a lot of care, needing to see a physician quite frequently, having a lot of prescriptions. Well, they also qualify for Medicare before turning 65. Okay, so now here's where we start to get into the meat. So I know that we have a Q&A function here. I'm going to address the questions probably after the presentation because a lot of your questions might be answered during the presentation. So we had earlier said, well, what is Medicare? Well, it's federal insurance. This is a form of insurance. And as you had heard a little bit earlier, this is your primary insurance. This is your primary payer. It's the ones who have stepped in over the county to pay for you as your insurer. Established 1965, and throughout this presentation, you're going to hear me say CMS, you're going to hear me say Medicare. Well, CMS is just Centers for Medicare and Medicaid Services. So when I say CMS, I'm talking about Medicare. When I'm talking about Medicare, I'm talking about CMS. Now, the 4 parts of Medicare that we're going to go through are, of course, A and B. This is what's known as Original Medicare. Part D, which we skipped Part C for a reason, and then we'll go ahead and double back to Part C. So first, talk about the biggest part of Medicare. This is Medicare Part A, and this is your hospital insurance. Easy way to remember this is A is in, inpatient, and B is out, outpatient. So A is in, B is out. This is going to cover things like skilled nursing, home hospice care. And again, this is just Medicare basics. This is the benefit that you receive as somebody who has this original Medicare. We're going to get into coordinating that original Medicare insurance here in just a minute. But Medicare Part A is the Medicare that we pay into over the course of a working lifetime, really. If you've paid into it about 10 years or 40 quarters, you have earned Medicare Part A premium free. Now, there are some exceptions to paying into Medicare. It's quite frequent that our federal employees don't pay into Medicare. There are exceptions like safety workers, firefighters, teachers, police officers, people in this sort of category that may not have paid into Medicare or had the chance to opt out of paying into Medicare. And that may not be you, but it might be your spouse. And so you might be thinking, well, I paid into Medicare, but they didn't. Will they have to pay for Medicare Part A? Because you obviously have already jumped down to that last bullet for premium. Well, the answer to that question is if one of you has earned Medicare Part A, meaning you've met the 40 quarters, paid in 10 years, your spouse can actually piggyback off of your entitlement, your Medicare Part A entitlement. And they don't necessarily even have to be with you anymore. They could be divorced and still use their spouse's Medicare entitlement, or they could have passed away and you can still use their Medicare entitlement. But for just informational sake here, let's talk about what happens if you don't. Well, because again, Medicare Part A is the largest part of Medicare, it is also the most costly, coming in at $499 per month. That's per person. So if you have concerns or you're a little bit unsure, this is something that you want to talk with Social Security Administration about. Social Security is the starting point. They're the administrators for Medicare. And so sitting down with them, maybe not right now, but maybe having a conversation with them or, corresponding with them in some other means, it might be a good idea to have this kind of conversation with them just because it could be your situation is a little different, or they might provide you different avenues for Medicare Part A. Okay, so we said A is in and we said B is out. So your Medicare Part B is your doctor's insurance. This is outpatient. So durable medical equipment, dialysis, preventative care. And again, talking about original Medicare, any plan that you couple your original Medicare with, your A and your B, is going to be equivalent or better. In many cases, it's going to be better. Otherwise, why would you couple it with a supplement plan or a Medicare Advantage plan? So with Medicare Part B, this is the one that we all pay a premium for. Everybody pays a premium for Medicare Part B. Now, most people have this premium come out of their Social Security check. Again, some people might say, well, I never contributed to Social Security. I don't have a Social Security check coming my way. That's okay. You can pay for it using a checking account. You can pay for it monthly. You can pay for it quarterly. Different ways to pay for Medicare Part B. Now, the late enrollment penalty. This is a big deal. So let's jump down to the last bullet and get that last bullet talked about first. It says it's not imposed if you continue to work for and get your healthcare coverage from an employer or trust fund of 20 or more. That's the county. You qualify to postpone your Medicare Part B. The reason we jump down there is because we have people who are over 65 sitting here, maybe thinking, well, I've been working. I'm going to work until I'm 70. What do you mean late enrollment penalty? Instantly, red flags go off, and they should, because this late enrollment penalty is not a singular penalty. It is a lifetime penalty. It always exists for as long as you have Medicare. And so we get a lot of questions about Medicare Part B late enrollment penalty. And they're usually about, well, what if I was still working? What if I was still working, but my spouse is retired and they're 70 now and they haven't taken Medicare because I've been covering them? What about that? Well, it's very important to know that as a county employee, someone who has the eligibility to postpone your Medicare Part B, that you do not need to take Part B and you will not have a late enrollment penalty after. And this also extends to that spouse that you may be covering. Maybe they worked for a long time. Maybe they're a little bit older than you. Maybe they're 70 years old and you're thinking, I'm going to retire when I turn 65, but I'm going to continue to cover them. Medicare looks at your eligibility, your working status, and extends it to them. So they look like they're working too because they're covered under somebody who is actively at work. So your spouse, if they have Medicare Part B because they were told you need to get Part B, maybe they were kind of scared into it. Now they have Medicare Part B, but you've been covering them this whole time. You can actually have the conversation with Social Security to then postpone Part B and save on that monthly premium month over month. Now, with that being said, your spouse may have retired through a different agency, through a different organization or different company, and that company might require them to have Medicare in order to take their retiree benefit. And if that's the case, that's a little bit different because that company is covering them. You're not covering them. That company is. So they should take their Medicare. But you're also in sort of a good position here because if you're able to postpone the enrollment through their company and bring them in under the county coverage with you, well, that might be another way of deferring paying into Medicare Part B until you retire. Now, what is this penalty? Let's jump back up to the first bullet or sub bullet. It is 10% for each 12-month period that you did not have coverage. 10%. Okay, and this is based off of the first tier, and that first tier, which we're going to show in this next slide here, it can change, and in fact, it does change year over year. And so that 10% for each 12-month period of time will stay with you until you leave the Medicare program. So very important that when you become Medicare eligible, you seriously consider enrolling into Medicare. And the reason I say seriously consider is because Medicare is optional, and Social Security will tell you that. But in order to take any of the county plans, to take any plan even outside of the county, you have to have Medicare A and B. It's not just the county rule. It's the case even with Kaiser retirees. We have to have A and B in order to have any of the supplement plans, any of the Medicare Advantage plans. You have to have A and B. So we talked a lot about that late enrollment penalty, talked about how there is a cost associated with Part B. We paid into Part A, did the 10 years or 40 quarters, earned that premium free, but we have this Part B that everybody pays. And this is based off of your income, your MAGI, modified adjusted gross income. So it has something to do with your taxes, which means you have two federal entities, IRS, CMS, talking to one another. So they know what you're making in your retirement, and they know what to appropriately charge you. Now, 96% of the population will fall into that first tier. But you might be thinking, well, I make a little bit more than that right now. In fact, when they determine what you'll be paying when you initially retire, they actually look at your income, your MAGI, from 2 years ago. It's always a 2-year look back. And maybe 2020 was a good year for you financially. Maybe you had things like maybe a lot of overtime come your way, maybe some bonuses, or maybe just in general, you made more money as an active employee. Maybe both you and your spouse were still working then. And now you're looking at retirement here in 2022, and you're thinking, well, both me and my spouse, we were together combined maybe in the second tier. Will we be paying the $238.10? There's a possibility that you will, at least until you can prove that you make less in retirement. If you're one of those persons who took COBRA and you weren't working for the last 18 months, you probably have a good representation of pre-retirement income, and so you'll probably slide right into the appropriate tier. Now, again, if you feel that you're in the incorrect tier, it is up to you to engage with Social Security, have the conversation with them and say, I don't think this assessment is right. Here's why. Maybe I cashed out something. Maybe I did something with my income that made it spike when you looked. And now that anomaly, it doesn't exist anymore. I should be in a lower tier. Make sure you have that conversation, because if you leave it as it is, Social Security, Medicare, they say, well, I guess this is accurate. They assess it. Another thing that I can't stress enough to you is to always consult a tax advisor prior to making any big decisions with your finances. Because remember, IRS, CMS, talking to one another. Maybe you retire, and 5 years from now, 10 years from now, you're 70, 75 years old, and you do something with your income, and it shows up on your MAGI. Maybe you take a big chunk out. Maybe you cash an investment out that then shows up on the MAGI again. Well, keep in mind, Medicare might come knocking and say, hey, we think you owe a little bit more for your Medicare Part B because you're in a higher income bracket now. Again, up to you to attest and say, no, that was an anomaly. I don't usually make that much. I won't make that much this coming year, to make sure that you're in the correct tier. And you can also see in that second box, that yearly income, when it says, if you're married, but file a tax return separately from your spouse, that can drastically change what you each pay for Medicare Part B. Again, always consult a tax advisor prior to making any of these decisions with your finances. That way you make sure that anything downstream from what you're doing isn't impacted, and then you don't face any sort of repercussions with what you'll be paying for Medicare. Okay, so when do we enroll into Medicare? Well, Most people enroll into Medicare with the initial enrollment period. Lots of people retire at 65. We're seeing more people postpone retirement. That's fine. We're young, we're healthy, still going. More power to you. But at 65, this is when everybody becomes eligible. Again, anybody 65 and older who is retired, retiring. So if you're a person who maybe retired 12 months before, you took COBRA, you were 64, now you're turning 65 and you're thinking, well, I still have several more months, so you can use Cal COBRA, you can get up to 36 months, right? And maybe you've just used the 12. I still have several more months with COBRA, I think I'm going to stay on COBRA. Be careful, because COBRA is not considered actively at work coverage. That's the reason that you have COBRA, because you're no longer at work. And remember, that rule for postponing Medicare Part B is based on you still working, having that active coverage. So even though the benefit is exactly the same, it has nothing to do with that. It has to do with your status as an active employee or not an active employee. You're considered a retiree. So very important to consider taking Medicare at that point, because if you postpone and say, well, I still have several months of COBRA left, I'm going to take COBRA. When you go to sign up for Medicare, they will tell you, you have missed your initial enrollment period. You were not working. And now you will have a late enrollment penalty. Back to the initial enrollment period. If you're a person who is already taking Social Security dollar, maybe you're one of those persons who took it at 62, likely you'll be enrolled automatically into Medicare A and B. You'll receive a Medicare red, white, and blue card. It says A on it. It says Part B has a start date. Usually that start date aligns with your birth month. So if you're a person who was born December 15th, it'll say 12/1 of that year. If that's the case, and you opted to have it just deducted out of your Social Security check, you're done. You have your A and B. You can take it and enroll into one of the county plans. If you're a person who's not taking Social Security, you might just receive a card that says Part A. If you're a person who's continuing to work, perfect. That means you're not paying for Part B, at least not yet. So you can receive the red, white, and blue card, just says Part A. You're thinking, I'm going to work another 5-10 years. I'm going till I'm 70 or 75. That's fine. That doesn't mean you're being charged for Medicare Part B. But if at 65 you receive a card that says A and B, and you know you're going to go to 67 years old, well, they're telling you for 2 years, we're going to start deducting your Part B. So it'd be a good idea to talk with Social Security and say, oh, no, I'm going to continue to work. They'll provide you the appropriate paperwork that then the county will fill out for you when you decide to pull the trigger and retire. Again, very important to sit down with the county and have this conversation. Now, the initial enrollment period starts 3 months before your 65th birth month, lasts through your birth month, and then goes 3 months beyond for a total of 7 months. And this all has to do with avoiding a late enrollment penalty, assuming that you're retired. But also keep in mind that this is just a general rule. We're talking about basic Medicare here. The county will require you to bridge your coverage. So even though you have this window, this time frame to be able to enroll, the county might say, no. You need to have your paperwork. You need to have the conversation with us. You need to let us know your intention. Pick which plan you're going to pick. You need to do this in advance. And here's the time frame in advance that you need to tell us so that we can administer your coverage. So very important to know that you need to follow the county's eligibility rules, even though you have this window to avoid a late enrollment penalty. And really just stepping back and looking at this, you want to bridge your coverage. You don't want to have this period of time where you have a gap in coverage. What if something happens? What if you have prescriptions that you need to pick up? What if you had maybe a procedure set up? You don't want to have a gap. Bridge your coverage. Okay. This is the next enrollment period, the general enrollment period. So we talked about IEP, initial enrollment period. Again, CMS abbreviation or acronyms. The general enrollment period is for people who miss the initial enrollment period. These are for those persons who didn't know about that COBRA rule. And now they've come back to Medicare and say, hey, my COBRA ran out. And Medicare says, well, you missed your initial enrollment period, which means that you can't enroll now until January 1st or between January 1st and March 31st of the coming year. So right now we're actually in the general enrollment period. For those persons, their Medicare doesn't start the prospective month. It starts that July. So there's even a larger gap for not having taken Medicare when you were first eligible. And it's not always the case that somebody is naive to it. Some people purposely do choose not to enroll into Medicare. And usually the scenario is they're leaving the United States permanently. It doesn't make sense to take Medicare if you're permanently leaving the United States. And maybe you're going back home to Canada, Mexico, Europe. You're buying your own island. You're completely leaving the United States. Medicare works in the United States. So if you're leaving, you don't need to take your Medicare. But if you ever decide to come back, maybe 5 years down the road, didn't work out in Canada with your family. Maybe you decide that you know what, I think I did want to live in California, maybe one of the other states. Well, now, in addition to knowing that you're going to have a late enrollment penalty, we said 5 years down the road, so now you have a 50% late enrollment penalty. You also cannot just enroll at any point. You have to wait until the general enrollment period. Again, optional, but very important that you seriously consider enrolling when you're first eligible to do so. That third eligibility window, the special enrollment period, this is for persons who are deciding to postpone retirement. So maybe you go until you're 70 and you're thinking, well, I'm born in January. I'm retiring at 70 and I'm going to retire in July. Do I have to wait till the following January? No. You have a special enrollment period. Remember, you can bridge your coverage. You can enroll that July. You can have your Medicare start that July, and you can do so penalty-free because you were still working. You have that special enrollment period. Another triggering event of a special enrollment period is if you decide to move. Maybe you no longer live in California, and you decide to move maybe with your family, and maybe you're from, say, Texas or Florida. Well, if you are a person enrolled here, maybe we'll use the Kaiser plan as an example. If you are enrolled with Kaiser and you're in California, Kaiser isn't in Texas, they're not in Florida, which means you're not going to be able to continue your coverage through Kaiser. So your Medicare has to be freed up, and you have to be able to take it and roll it into a different plan. So you have these special provisions for you to be able to move your Medicare and take it with you. Now, how this relates to enrollment is your Medicare Part D. Medicare Part D, you cannot have a greater gap than 63 days in your Medicare Part D. So you can actually come out of your enrollment, but you got to get back into that enrollment. So whatever plan that is that you pick, make sure it has a Part D plan. Make sure you enroll into that Part D plan. Otherwise, you could face a late enrollment penalty for your Part D. Prescription drug coverage. This is a nice segue. Part D is your prescription drug coverage. This is going to cover all of your prescriptions in retirement. Now, you have a couple of different options for enrolling into Medicare Part D, D as in drug. You can pick a Medicare Advantage plan that includes it. That's what Kaiser offers. There are standalone prescription drug plans. These are plans like you can get through CVS or like Walgreens, your pharmacies that sometimes will offer a Part D plan. Coverage through an employer or union. Some employers administer their own drug plan that's equivalent to Part D. Now, unlike with Part A and B, Part D is signed up directly through the plan, which is why you can sign up for a Part D plan right there at the pharmacy. So you might have the conversation with Social Security, and you might sit down with them and they'll talk to you about Part A, Part B, they'll enroll you. But Part D usually comes after the fact. I might need you to forward this slide for me, Jared. Thank you. So even though Medicare Part D is administered through your plan, still very much a part of Medicare. This is sort of a representation of that. This is what's known as an IRMA. Again, another Medicare term. This is the income-related monthly adjustment amount. And this is really more of an assessment. It's not really a premium, it's more of an assessment. Part D plans do generally come with a premium. Depends which state you ultimately end up living in, but they do have a premium associated with them. Sometimes they're embedded into your Medicare Advantage plan. Other times you have a separate premium driver for them. But this, again, this isn't between you and your carrier. It's not between you and the county, obviously, but this is more between you and Medicare. So if you're a person who is paying a little bit more for Medicare Part B, B as in boy, you may pay a little bit more for Part D, D as in drug. You can see that second tier, 91,000 and over for an individual. Again, how you file your taxes, and then with a joint, it goes up to 182, where you might have this additional assessment. Most people don't have it, but if you do receive this assessment, again, it is up to you to attest on your own behalf to say, no, I shouldn't be paying that. Here's what my income really will be in retirement, or maybe that money that made it look like I earned more in retirement was an anomaly and that you're not going to be making that year over year. Very important that you attest to the correct amount that you should be paying. If you don't, Medicare just assumes that it's accurate. The same is true as if you move. Medicare might ask you, did you move? Maybe you just started forwarding mail. Maybe you stopped doing mail and maybe have a child doing it. Maybe you forward your mail to a summer house or a winter house. And Medicare asks, did you move? And you don't reply to it because you've lived across the street from your hospital your entire life. Well, by not responding, by not answering, by not attesting for things like this, Medicare just assumes it's accurate. And then they move forward with it. So if you receive this, and it usually comes via snail mail because, again, Part D is usually after the fact. You're going through your carrier, you're signing up, and it's then triggered later on. You receive this assessment and you think $12.40. Well, I already have my Part D coverage through the county with my plan. I'm not going to pay anything more. Again, this is not a premium that's paid to the county or to your carrier. This is going to the Medicare fund. If you ignore it, they'll put a pause on your A and B. Without A and B, you can't have any of the county plans. You can't have any of the outside plans. You have to have A and B, which means now you don't have hospital coverage. Now you don't have doctor's insurance because you have not addressed this Part D IRMA. So very, very important that if you receive this, that you address it and you make sure that either you pay it if it is applicable, or that you attest that you have a lower income that should put you under. So Medicare Part C, we said A, B, D. Now we're going back to C. Medicare Part C is what's known as Medicare Advantage. Okay, you have two options. You have Medicare Advantage and you have Medicare Supplement plans. Medicare Supplement plans are like your alphabet plans. Medicare Advantage they work a little bit differently. With Medicare Advantage, you're taking your original Medicare, which is A and B, right? A and B is an 80-20 split, which means if you go to the hospital, you pay a deductible and then the plan picks up, or Medicare picks up and starts paying. If you go to the doctor's office, you pay a deductible and then Medicare pays 80% and you pay 20%. That's original Medicare. That's like, say, you taking your original Medicare, just using Medicare by itself and finding a doctor that accepts original Medicare and finding a hospital that accepts original Medicare. But most people don't do that. Most people coordinate their Medicare by, again, going into a supplement, also called Medigap. That's what it's called here on this slide, a supplement plan, which you're offered through the county, or going to Medicare Advantage, also offered through the county. Now, Medicare can only be in one place at a time. Okay, so you can't have both. You can't have supplement plan and Medicare Advantage plan. Whichever plan you sign up for last is the plan that you have. So if you were in Medicare Advantage and you sign up for Medicare Supplement or Medigap, you no longer have Medicare Advantage. Medicare just moves your Medicare over there. And this is the case for all parts of Medicare, which means if you have Medicare Advantage, maybe you have the Kaiser plan. Kaiser includes Medicare Part D, means your prescriptions are included. And then you're over at that Walgreens or CVS or pharmacy, wherever pharmacy you're at, and they have a Part D plan. And you're like, oh, the line is so much shorter and I'm here every week anyway. I think I'm going to get my prescriptions over there. Well, by doing so, you're telling Medicare that you no longer want your Medicare Advantage plan. You don't want the Kaiser plan. You want original Medicare with the deductible and the 20% share of cost and that Part D plan. You've pulled your Medicare out of your plan, out of the county plan, and now you're in original Medicare by yourself with that Part D plan. One plan at a time. You can make changes during open enrollment, of course. You can make changes again, going back to that. If you have a qualifying event, you get a special enrollment period to be able to enroll if you maybe move, but only one plan at a time. Okay, so a little bit more about Medicare Advantage. This is combining your A, B, and D all under one, which is why we talked about A, B, and D. Now have circle back to Part C. Now with Medicare Advantage, you're usually part of a network, and you agree to see that network of doctors and specialists. Now with Medicare Advantage, Medicare is typically paying capitation or a set amount on your behalf. Sometimes they have fee-for-service. There are different options, but talking specifically about the Medicare Advantage plan through Kaiser that is offered to you through the county, Medicare just pays a set monthly amount for you. So if you have a great year, fantastic. If you have a horrible year, it doesn't make a difference. Medicare is just paying the same amount for you on that monthly basis. Now that last bullet is very important. If you choose an out-of-network provider, you'll be financially responsible, except in the case of an emergency or urgent care need. Now, remember we said that original Medicare by itself, 80/20 with deductibles, is specific to the United States? It is. If you decide to couple it with a Medicare Advantage plan, and many supplement plans too, and you're traveling, you often have worldwide coverage. With the Kaiser plan, you have complete worldwide coverage. In different supplement plans, it could be complete or maybe a percentage of that. But by doing so, you've enhanced your Medicare benefit. Again, Medicare isn't reimbursing any of the plans for this. This is just something that you've done to enhance your coverage. So now you do have emergency and urgent care needs covered outside of the United States. Not the case if you permanently move, of course. We're talking about traveling, visiting places, you're retired. So the expectation is, yes, of course, you're going to be traveling. And potentially you could have a situation where you need to visit an urgent care emergency room. So something to consider as well. Now going back, different types of Medicare Advantage plans. What you have available to you is an HMO. This is a health maintenance organization. Different types that are available out there. You're going to want to know, just because as you get closer to Medicare eligibility, you will get flooded with mail from all kinds of carriers, probably Kaiser too. But keep in mind, if you're taking the county plans, any of the county plans, go directly to the county, including if you're a Kaiser member. Go directly to the county, because there's a possibility that the information that you receive is based off of an individual plan. That's not part of the county. Maybe it's just general information. For you, it's a little bit different. As a person who has earned a benefit through their former employer, you need to go through your former employer. Now, Medicare has a provision for a subsidy for those with taking Medicare Part D. And this is determined by your income again. Remember we said you're probably going to sit down with Social Security, or at least call them, maybe go online. When they determine what you pay for your Part B, they'll also determine if you qualify for a subsidy for your Part D. They won't enroll you into a Part D plan right there, because again, that's through the carriers, but they'll let you know if you qualify for this little bit of extra help. Now, all of the plans, every one of them, have been rated by Medicare using this star rating system. Sort of like Amazon, you see there's stars by different products. Medicare takes each of the plans, rates them 1 to 5 stars. Kaiser Permanente is proud to say that we've maintained a 5-star rating for 2022. 5-star ratings in previous regions as well. But this is the first year that we've had every region offered in 2022 as a 5-star. This is where we start to transition a little bit into Kaiser. We've been talking about general Medicare. Kaiser Permanente is a Medicare Advantage plan. We work in a lot of the same way that Medicare Advantage works, Part C works, knowing that A and B and D all are under one roof. Same thing with the Kaiser delivery system. And maybe you need to see a physician, they're on the 3rd floor. 2nd floor, you see the optometrist. 1st floor, you walk out with a lab and maybe a prescription. Everything under one roof, integrated care, very easy and convenient to use, which is typically something that's top of mind in retirement, is administration of your health care, because this is usually the largest expense in retirement. Maybe you're still paying for your house. That could be one that trumps your health care coverage, but typically people are more concerned about administering their health care. Oops. Can we go back 2 slides, Jared? I think I just pushed it a little too hard. So Brittany had gone over the plan options that you have, just a high-level overview. And again, you have a lot of options, not just Kaiser. You have the ability to do these side-by-side comparisons. You have 2 options with Kaiser. That's something that the county has provided to you. If you're a person who is looking at both options and trying to do the side-by-side comparison, I would encourage you to take all of the plans that you have. Make sure that you are eligible and in area for picking of those plans. Kaiser is service area driven, so it means that you do have to live in a Kaiser service area. If you're a person who maybe resides in a area where Kaiser is not available as a retiree, and maybe you were working and using the live work rule, that's fine. But as soon as you turn Medicare eligible and are retired, Medicare knows that you're not spending a bunch of time in your in-area work zip code. They know that you're living in your zip code where you're at. So that might drive a change. It may mean that you don't qualify for the Kaiser plan in your Medicare eligibility or retirement with Medicare. A couple of things that I'll call attention to just briefly, because I understand that we are now limited on time, is the county plans are going to be much richer than anything that you can get usually on the individual market outside. And that's just the general case with most insurance. Even as an active employee, you're probably going to have richer insurance benefit through your employer than it would be if you were to go and shop it on your own. And the same is true with the retirement plans. The annual out-of-pocket maximum, that's not a deductible. There are no deductibles in Senior Advantage. Remember we said that original Medicare had a deductible? That's been wiped out. So it's one more way that you now coordinated your Medicare and you've enhanced it. So the out-of-pocket maximum is just the absolute most you would pay in the worst year before the plan paid 100%. Office visits, of course, something to think about. Outpatient. Another big one here is the hospitalization. There's no charge on the high option and then a $250 per admission. And the reason that's a big deal is because most plans outside of the county, that is, individual plans, street plans, people who just have Medicare, didn't earn a benefit through a county plan, they have a per day cost, usually between the first 1 to 7 days. And it's usually between $300 and $700 per day versus a per admission or no charge at all. So also something to consider and think about if you're looking at plans outside of the county, is the benefit level differences. And then of course, prescription drugs. There are 6 tiers of prescription drugs in the open market. That includes the individual plans that Kaiser offers. But with the employer-backed plans, the county was able to just narrow it to 2, which means that if you need a 30-day supply, a 365-day supply, this is the copay that you're going to be responsible for. Another big part of this is that the prescription drug gap, as Brittany had said earlier, does not apply to the county plans. And this is huge because with the prescription drug gap, you're only allotted a certain amount before you fall into this gap where you pay 25% of the true drug cost. Okay. And that amount that leads up to that is accumulating what the actual drug costs, not your copays. It's changed for 2022 and I don't have it off the top of my head, but it's easily looked up. So make sure that you also take that into consideration, the amount that you could pay for prescription drugs outside of the county plans. All of the prescription drug plans not backed by an employer are aligned. They all have the Part D drug gap. The county plan does not. And then of course, 2, durable medical equipment, something that original Medicare doesn't cover, eyewear and hearing aid allowance. Something else to think about. You've now, remember, taken your original Medicare, you've coupled it with one of the county plans and you've really, really enhanced it. Okay, last slide. You guys have all made it. I understand we only have 2 minutes here. Again,
I just want to cut in really quick. You have
Sure.
you have extra time to answer some questions that we ran.
Sure.
Some of the presentation ran a little long, so take your time. You got some time to answer the questions and stuff.
Wonderful. I absolutely will. So before I get into the questions, cannot stress enough. Take advantage of what you have available to you through FCERA, through the county HR. Talk with them first. Go through them, especially if you're going to be taking one of the county plans. You can call Kaiser direct. You can call the other carriers that you're looking into directly, but they're not going to know your eligibility. They're not going to know that you qualify for the county plans. So you're going to be given general information that may not apply to you as a person who's a retiree of the county and taking the county plan. So always, always, always start with the county? Okay, so I do thank you so very much for your time, and I'll go ahead and take a look at these questions. It looks like we have a handful here. First question is if my spouse is not working, is older than 65, is it beneficial for them to be on a Medicare versus county health plan? No current health issues. Again, there's no wrong answer there. If it financially makes sense for you to pull them in onto your plan, maybe you look at that monthly premium and think, okay, well, it maybe is cheaper for them to come to my plan because you're thinking about the Part B premium, maybe the cost of whatever carrier that they have coupled their Medicare with. That combined, is it more or is it less than what it would be to pull them in to your plan with you? No wrong decision. If you don't cover them, they should have their Medicare. If you decide to cover them, you should really consider having them postpone their Medicare. Okay, so how do we find out if we've been paying into Medicare as a county employee? So it's going to be on your pay stub. There'll be a line item of Medicare there. Additionally, you can also reach out to Social Security and confirm with them that you paid 10 years or 40 quarters. If you're concerned that maybe you haven't, maybe you're one of those persons who falls in that category, but you think, well, I paid 6 years when I was in college and I had a job when I was in high school, and I think I'm going to work as maybe a Walmart greeter for another 4 years after my retirement just to keep busy. That's okay. You can actually take those 6 years that you had and the 4 years that you've earned and make it 10 years. It doesn't have to be 1 year after another. It can be broken up. It's just to make sure you've had the 10 years or 40 quarters. Good question. I want to retire at 58. What kind of cost am I looking at? Good question for your county HR team. What we talked today about was, again, basic Medicare, how it applies to you as a county retiree. We talked a little bit about how it applies to you if you decide to become a Kaiser retiree. But again, general information with Medicare, whatever you end up doing, talk with the county, Medicare rules will still all apply. In terms of Medicare enrollment and the gap between COBRA and age 65, eligible age for Medicare enrollment, what are the options? I'll most likely retire at 58 and have a gap. What is the best way to bridge coverage? Good question, a question we get frequently. If you are taking the COBRA coverage and then Cal COBRA, that'll last you for 36 months. Between the time of, 61 and 65, you can go on to websites like Covered California, check and see if you qualify for any subsidies, and shop plans and do side-by-side comparisons there. Per above, spouse does not qualify for Social Security benefits either. Okay, so you are in that situation. Is it beneficial to have our finances, to leave my county plan and goes to Medicare even if I am not 65 years old? Potentially. Again, if she has not qualified for Social Security, everybody qualifies for Medicare, at least Medicare Part B. If she's using her Part A, she might be able to find a plan in the open market that's just a regular Medicare Advantage or Medicare supplement plan, not backed by an employer, until you retire, until you reach 65, and then you can check with the HR team to see whether or not you can pull her back in underneath you in your retirement. Are these premium amounts and penalties monthly or annually? They are monthly, which means that 10%, that's based off of that 178, I believe it was, 178. All these numbers change every year. So 10% be about a $17, $18 addition. So forever, 5, 10, 15, 20 years, you will always have that 10% penalty. Is AARP supplement plan, and it is intended to pay the 20% after 80/20? Good question. So typically supplement plans, they are picking up that 20% that you would have paid. So 80/20 still is in place, and then Medicare comes in and says, then your supplement plan comes in and says, okay, what did Medicare not cover? Okay, we'll either cover a percentage of that, or we'll cover all of it, or we'll cover up to a copay. And so the AARP plan that you look at, just check the line items and see what it is that they're picking up. It might turn into you going to a physician instead of paying 20% of that doctor's office visit. That AARP plan says you pay $5, $10, $20, or whatever it is. So they're also in those supplement plans helping you bridge that gap. If I am 65 and receive Part A and B, if my wife is 59 not working, can I have her as a dependent on my Medicare Part A and B? If yes, I assume there's a cost to that. So Medicare is a per person entitlement, which means it only covers you. That premium we talked about, that's for each of you. both you and your spouse, assuming that they're Medicare eligible. If you're a bit older than your spouse, the situation is maybe you're 65 and they're 59. Well, the coverage that they would have could vary. Again, I would talk to the county and see what your options are to either put them on COBRA, what kind of coverage they can have. If not, or if you don't have enough COBRA to bridge, again, consider something like a covered California to see your plan options. When you have a Medicare Advantage and then you signed up for Part D with Walgreens and you didn't get the other parts of Medicare, are you then penalized for not having insurance? No. So Medicare is still intact. You're still paying for your Medicare A and B. It's just you're not coordinating it anymore. So you won't have to worry about this like late enrollment penalty for Medicare, but you will have to worry about being turned off of your plan. Because remember, you can't have the plan without Medicare A and B. And if you've decided that you're going to take your Medicare Part D and use it outside of whatever supplement or outside of a Medicare Advantage plan, that you no longer have that supplement or Medicare Advantage plan. You're no longer coupled. You have original Medicare and you have the Part D plan. So just keep that in mind. If I plan on spending 5 to 6 months of the year in Mexico, will Medicare cover the emergency? Original Medicare won't. If you pick the Kaiser Permanente Senior Advantage plan, it will. If you pick a supplement plan, make sure you check and see. I believe the supplement plan is through United American. Make sure you check and see the percentage that they'll cover, if not all of what they'll cover. Many plans, again, these days will cover all of the amount, less a copay if you have a copay. But also keep in mind, too, that if you're outside of the country, you might be required to pay up front, and then when you get back, to then submit for reimbursement. That's super easy to do with the Kaiser plan. You know, you just submit all the paperwork and then you receive the money back less your copay. 5 or 6 months though, you might get that trigger of Medicare asking you, did you move? Very important that you spend 6 months, 1 day in the service area or in the United States. That way they know that you're not spending the majority of your time outside the United States. Otherwise you will be disenrolled from your plan. Are we able to sign up for Medicare at 65 years old, even if we have to work until we are 67 to draw our full Social Security? Yes, so Medicare eligibility, it's 65. It has nothing to do with Social Security dollar. If you are still working though, consider not signing up for Medicare Part B. If you sign up for Medicare Part B at 65, you work until you're 67, you will have 24 months of paying, maybe even a higher payment for Part B than you would have. So you can do it, completely up to you. You can coordinate it. You can attach it to the county plan as an actively at work person, but most often it doesn't really make financial sense for a person turning 65. Completely different if you have long-term disability, if you have ALS, if you have ESRD. You're under 65, you might still be working. You probably do need to take your Medicare and associate it with your plan, but not a healthy 65-year-old who says, I'm going to work 2 more years. If you retire prior to 65, can you still sign up for a county Kaiser Medicare plan when you reach 65? No. In order to sign up for the Medicare plan through Kaiser and through the county, you have to be Medicare eligible. Unless you're Medicare eligible before 65, the answer is no. If you're a person who's gaining Medicare eligibility at 65, you have to wait. Again, different rules for long-term disability, ESRD, ALS, but for the rest, most everybody else, you have to wait. If you choose Kaiser, can you switch to original and D without losing coverage for any pre-existing conditions? Yes. If you've decided that maybe you were in a Medicare Advantage plan, and then you think, I don't want to be in the Medicare Advantage plan. Actually, I just really like to use original Medicare and Part D, completely fine. With the supplement plans, there are grace periods, including with the Medicare Advantage plans as well. But you also have the ability to change from supplement plans to Medicare Advantage. I believe it's a one-time per year. So if you want to make a change, there are rules that allow you to do so. But again, keep in mind, if you're taking the county plans, you have to follow the county eligibility rules. But none of the plans will deny you for anything pre-existing. The last pre-existing condition that Medicare would not allow a person to make a change was ESRD, and that changed last year. So now it's everything. Everything is covered. Everybody's able to make changes. What are the monthly rates for the county plans? Again, conversation that you'll have with the county HR team when you go to sit down and talk about your retirement. You will see plan differences. You'll see plan premium differences across the board. Do your side-by-side comparison to make sure that you pick the plan that is most appropriate for your situation. Are safety members not eligible for Medicare if they haven't paid into Social Security? Potentially. Again, if you think you haven't been paying into Medicare, have the conversation with Social Security. Even if you know you're not getting a Social Security check in your retirement, check with them on the Medicare piece. I believe it was separate to opt out, and this was several years ago. It is a separate line item on your pay stub. You have Social Security, and then you also have Medicare that's taken out. If you don't see either of those, I would have the conversation with Social Security to see where you're at. Is Fed, Med, EE on our taxes, on our paycheck, the Medicare? I think that's a good question, actually. My check just says Medicare. So it's possible that it's been abbreviated in that way. But again, if you're a person who was not a safety worker, firefighter, police officer, teacher, likely you have paid into Medicare. If you call Medicare, if you even go online and check with Social Security, they'll be able to determine definitively whether or not you've paid into it. Okay, did you say that if we are still working and already 65 years old, that we should already enroll in Medicare to avoid a penalty? No, quite the opposite, in fact. If you are 65 and already, I'm sorry, if you are still working, turning 65 or already 65 and attending this seminar today, or if you have a spouse who's already 65 and they're covered under you, you qualify to postpone Medicare Part B enrollment. And same is true with Part D. You don't need to take your Part B or D. You have prescription drug coverage through the county. It wouldn't make sense to have additional coverage that you would then pay for. If you retire at 60, can you sign up for the County Kaiser Medicare when you reach age 65, or is it required that you work up till 65? Okay, so as far as eligibility, if you depart maybe as an early retiree, you want to check with the county. Say, hey, I'm going to retire at 59. I'll take COBRA for 36 months, or I'll have my own coverage. But when I turn 65, can I return to the plan? Because remember, they control all of the eligibility. They control whether or not you qualify for the plan as a retiree, and the rules they can vary. They can change. I don't know your exact situation, but check with the county and they'll be able to tell you whether or not there's a return policy. Let's see here. So I can sign up for Medicare A at 65, even if I'm working until I turn 67. Yes, if you've earned premium-free Medicare Part A and you receive it at 65, that's fine. You can absolutely take the Medicare Part A. There are some repercussions as far as it goes with HSAs, health savings accounts. Make sure that you consult your tax advisor again. But if you take any part of Medicare and you have an HSA or contributing to an HSA for yourself, there's typically a tax repercussion. So double check that. Just make sure that you either need to postpone Part A altogether, all parts of Medicare, so you can still have your HSA. If not, then having just Part A right there, that's fine. It doesn't reimburse any of the plans. So if you have Kaiser, if you have a different carrier, they're not getting anything for that Part A because you're actively at work, and Medicare doesn't pay if you are actively at work. It'd be the county's plans that pay. Okay, that is the last one. That was a lot. I thank you all again so very much for hearing this presentation and for attending it, for asking such good questions. Very happy to get to partner with you all and see you into your journey and your next step of life. And congratulations to those of you who are looking at retirement shortly here in the future. If you've already retired and just aging into Medicare, congrats to you as well. And with that, I'll go ahead and turn it back over to Jared.
All right. Thank you, Desmond. I really appreciate you taking the time out today to help us out. We really appreciate that. So that's going to do it for us today, guys, for the webinar. I want to thank you all for being here this afternoon, and I want to thank you all again for being here this afternoon and taking the time out. It's a lot of information we covered today, so I just want to personally thank you again. Real quickly, you guys are going to get an email from me probably in the next few hours or tomorrow. That's going to just recap. It will give you guys a link to a survey, and then also after I've uploaded the video, I will include a link of today's recording as well. Because I've gotten a bunch of emails this morning, I will send out the documents again, the handouts. If you want the handouts, just send me an email. I'm going to drop the email here again. And you can send me the email and I will get those to you as soon as I can. Other than that, just be on the lookout for more webinars. We are going to be doing these as much as we can to help provide you guys information for retirement and to help you guys make the best decisions that you can going forward. So without further ado, if you guys have any other questions, feel free to reach out to us. You have our contacts. We're here to help you. Thank you guys again for attending this afternoon, and we'll see you all later in the future. Bye-bye.